Hey friends, before we dive into tonight's story, did you know that nearly 80% of viewers aren't subscribed? If you're enjoying this content, hit that subscribe button. It really helps keep these long stories coming. Also, for even more police horror stories, check out my new channel. The link's in the description and pinned comment. I'd love it if you stop by and subscribe. I'd love to hear from you. What time is it where you are and which city are you listening from tonight? Now, sit back, relax, and let's get into it. I pulled into the empty lot beside St. Mary's Church at 0006, the cruiser's headlights slicing through low-hanging fog like scalpels. The rain was picking up again, a fine mist that clung to my uniform and settled on the brim of my hat. I killed the engine and let the car idle, listening to the windshield wipers swipe in a slow, steady rhythm. One swipe for every heartbeat, echoing in my chest. I checked my watch. 18 minutes since dispatch's first call about lights on, door ajar. In 30 years on night patrol, I've learned that the longer something sits in limbo, the more dangerous it becomes. I grabbed my flashlight and radio, then stepped into the cold. Gravel crunched under my boots as I made my way to the church's side entrance, eyes narrowing at a pair of concrete steps slick with rain. The beam of my flashlight cut through darkness, illuminating crumbling brickwork and peeling paint on the old stone facade. I paused at the door, heavy oak with iron fittings, its latch hanging loose like a wound left untreated. I tapped the frame with my fingertips. No sign of forced entry, no splintered wood, no pry marks. Just an open invitation. "Ramirez to dispatch," I said quietly, voice hoarse from hours of talking into a microphone. "Church door is unlocked, no sign of struggle." Static crackled in response. I eased the door open, letting my beam sweep across a wide, empty nave. Pews sat in neat rows, their varnish chipped and dull. At the far end, stained glass windows cast bruised colors onto the tile floor. Deep purples, bruised reds, a sickly green. The altar was bare, except for 2 half-melted candles and an upturned brass hymn book. I stepped over flickering pools of colored light, each step echoing like a question. I should have called for backup. Part of me wanted company, someone else to share the burden of walking into silence, but backup wouldn't arrive for at least 10 minutes, and 10 minutes could be the difference between finding someone alive or not. I moved on. Down the center aisle, I reached the lectern, its surface wet with condensation. The wood looked ancient, deeply grooved from years of handling hundreds of hymnals. I ran a gloved hand across it, then closed my eyes and inhaled. Faint scent of incense lingered, mixed with damp earth. My mind drifted to the last missing person call I handled, a teenage girl by the riverbank in Monticello, Ohio. She was found days later, face pale as river silt. Sometimes I wonder if she's still out there, walking in circles just beyond my flashlight's reach. I opened my eyes and moved toward the side chapel, where soft golden light filtered from a lone electric bulb. The floor was carpeted, stained with age and spilled coffee, probably from the Bible study group that met here Tuesdays. I found a chair pressed against the door frame, as if someone stood there and then bolted. I pressed my palm to the wall. Warmth. Fresh. I knelt to inspect the scuff marks on the carpet, barely visible, but enough to know someone had been here in the last hour. My radio crackled again. "Ramirez, dispatch? Status update?" "Found fresh footprints in the side chapel," I replied, voice tight. "Someone was here. I'm checking the vestry." I clipped the radio back to my belt and opened the chapel door. Inside, volunteer hats and coats hung on hooks. A countertop bore a collection of mismatched cups, and a half-empty pot of coffee still warm to the touch. Someone had hurried out, leaving sugar packets scattered across the surface like breadcrumbs. That told me instinct kicked in. Whoever was here didn't want to be caught. Not yet, anyway. I turned my light toward a bulletin board plastered with flyers. Summer picnic, bake sale, choir auditions. One notice caught my eye. Helpers needed for River Road food drive. Date printed, tomorrow. River Road, the same place where a ramshackle grain silo stood abandoned since the 1970s. That location had been the site of more than one late-night dare, but no official incidents. I made a mental note. I slipped the flashlight into my coat pocket and drew my service weapon, checking the chamber with a practiced thumb. I always carry live rounds on night patrol. You never know when a simple call can turn deadly. The beam from my weapon light cut a narrower line than the flashlight, more precise, more ominous. I eased open the vestry door. The hallway beyond was even darker. No overhead lights, just the dull glow spilling through the chapel door. Closets lined the walls labeled choir loft, nursery, sacristy. I advanced toward the back corner where I thought I'd heard movement earlier. My boots made no sound on the dusty wooden floor. Then a soft scrape, like metal on metal, echoed from the closet a second from the end. I halted, heart hammering. I touched the wall to steady myself, blocking out the rush of adrenaline. 1, 2, 3 slow breaths. Then I pivoted and raised my weapon, aiming at the closet door. "Marion PD," I called, voice low but firm. "Step out with your hands where I can see them." Silence. My flashlight flicked on the door handle, showing smudges and faint fingerprints. I clicked the radio mic. "Dispatch, possible suspect in closet, request immediate backup." No response. The radio remained silent, probably drowned in its own static. I nodded to myself. Backup be damned. This was my call. I gripped the doorknob and turned. The door swung inward with a creak. Inside, coats were hanging slightly askew. I shone the light downward. A single shoe lay on the floor, scuffed, black leather, size women's 6. I frowned and crouched, picking it up by the laces. No blood, no mud, just worn leather and streaks of old dust. I slipped it into an evidence bag I always carry for odd finds. Behind me, the hall went cold. I stood and spun toward the back door at the end of the corridor. It led downstairs to the basement storage area. My breath came out in a white plume. I considered going back for the flashlight, but decided against it. The weapon light would have to suffice. I edged ahead, every sense on alert. My mind replayed stories I'd heard about this place. Pastor's wife, who called in panicked, said she heard voices in the choir loft. Janitor who claimed boxes were rearranged overnight. Nothing ever pinned down, just whispers and locked doors. I reached the door to the basement. It wasn't locked. With a quiet push, it opened outward. My light caught on damp concrete steps. A copper pipe overhead dripped a steady drip that sounded like a heartbeat. I climbed down, each step deliberate, the cool air wrapping around me like a blanket soaked in regret. At the bottom, the beam swept across stacked chairs, dusty boxes labeled Christmas pageant props, an old steam heater hissing softly. I kept moving toward a dim glow under a far door, an emergency exit sign, its light flickering. That told me someone had come this way, used this route out. But where did they go next? My earpiece crackled. Backup ETA 6 minutes. I exhaled slowly. 6 minutes, just 6 more minutes before I wasn't alone. But the echoing corridors of this basement could stretch for miles in the mind. I approached the exit door, careful not to slip on puddles pooling at the threshold. I reached for the handle, and then I heard it. A faint whisper behind me, so soft I almost thought I imagined it. "Officer." A single word, drawn out like a plea. My hand froze on the handle. My light snapped to all corners of the room. Nothing moved, heart in my throat. I spun back to the stairs. But they were empty. No footprints, no sound but the drip of that copper pipe. I swallowed against the dry tightness in my chest and took one step downward. I had to know who was here, who'd called me out into the rain, and left me with only a whisper in the dark. I took the next step down into the basement's gloom, heart pounding so hard I felt it in my fingertips. My weapon light cut a narrow line across concrete walls stained with age, old watermarks like pale scars. I forced myself to breathe evenly, counting each heartbeat, each drip of the copper pipe overhead. Drip, heartbeat, drip, heartbeat. My mind flicked back to every night I'd chased shadows, every call where the person who needed help was nowhere to be found. This time, I was going to see it through. My beam swept the floor. Discarded hymnals, a broken folding chair, and beyond, the far door where the emergency exit sign pulsed weakly. I moved toward it, careful to avoid puddles that reflected my light in dizzying patterns. The closer I got, the more I noticed the subtle signs. Shoe prints, faint in dust, trailing from the broken chair toward an overturned mop bucket. Someone had stumbled here, perhaps trying to hide, or maybe leaving a trail on purpose. I crouched, tracing the print with my boot's toe, a woman's slender sole, soaked through and smeared with damp clay. Not Susan's shoe. It was a different size, larger, as though someone else had come down to meet her, or to follow. I clicked my radio mic, voice low. "Dispatch, I've got 2 sets of prints. One matches the shoe in the closet, another bigger, unknown, no sign of the person who made them." My radio spat static, nothing more. I patted my jacket pocket, felt the cold bag holding that single shoe. Evidence in plain sight, yet so little to go on. I rose, took a deliberate step toward the door. The hiss of the steam heater to my right sounded like a sigh. I placed my hand on the metal frame, tested the handle, locked from the outside. Whoever left this way had pulled it shut behind them, which meant there was another route out. I spun, shining my light back toward the stairs. That's when I saw it. A narrow passage behind stacked boxes, just wide enough to slip through. I knelt again, brushing aside cardboard flaps to reveal a small crawl space, roughly 18 inches high, maybe 20 feet long, before it turned into darkness. The edges were scraped, rough wood splinters along the top. I frowned. I hadn't noticed this before. I'd walked the entire church's interior a dozen times over 20 years, and this hidden crawl was new to me. Probably built for electrical work or old plumbing, then forgotten and repurposed by whoever brought it back into use. My mind raced. If Susan had crawled through here, she'd be disoriented, scratched, maybe calling out behind her. But I hadn't heard any cry, just that single whisper. I peered in. It was pitch black, but my weapon light could reach the entrance. I took a deep breath, gauged the width with my shoulder. I could fit, just barely. I tapped the stoic drip of my flashlight against the opening. The air that came out was stale, musty, and carried a faint metallic scent, like pennies left out in rain. Something about that smell made my stomach twist. Not blood, but rusted metal and old wires. I swallowed, reached into my pocket for gloves, slipped them on. Then I pulled myself forward into the crawl space. Crunch of gravel beneath my knees, scraping of metal above my head. I inched forward, beam leading the way. Darkness closed around me, the church's distant echoes swallowed by dust and silence. My breath fogged in the narrow space. In that silence, I heard something deeper than the drip overhead, a faint hum like a diesel engine idling, but so low that it felt underwater. I paused, listening. The hum grew louder as I pressed forward, until it resolved into a steady vibration under my palms, and I realized I was crawling atop a ventilation shaft that led outside. The grated cover was just ahead. I reached for it, fingers stretching for the metal slats. My light caught the edge of the grate. Slick with damp, bits of clay caught in the corners. I tapped it twice, then grabbed the bar and pulled. The grate shifted, letting in fresh night air and the distant sound of passing cars on Marion's Main Street. Relief and dread warred inside me. Relief that the crawl ended here, and dread that I'd left the basement, unaware of where I'd emerge. With a grunt, I levered the grate aside and swung one leg out, then the other, until I stood beneath a small vent opening at ground level behind the church. Rainwater ran down the side of the building in pale rivulets, soaking the grass. I turned to shine my light back into the crawl, nothing to hint at who else might have come through. I should have stayed in the building, but instinct drove me here. Something inside me demanded I find Susan, wherever she'd got lost. I stepped away from the vent and followed the careless footprints leading into undergrowth. Each footprint sank into the soft earth, sending up spores of wet soil. The night was alive with noise. Distant thunder, the hum of electricity from nearby power lines, the intermittent chirp of a lone cricket. The farm road behind the church led to River Road, 15 minutes on foot. My mind ticked through possibilities. Maybe she fled here to avoid him, whoever he was. Maybe he didn't follow. Or maybe this was his domain too. I emerged into a clearing ringed by sagging fences and rusted farm equipment. The silhouette of the grain silo rose ahead, its metal skin dull under the clouded moon. That familiar landmark carried with it half a dozen memories. Teenagers trespassing, a collapsed roof, an old man's near-fatal fall. But tonight it seemed strangely alive, as though it breathed with the wind. I checked my watch. 0027. 11 minutes since dispatch's call for backup. If they were smart, they'd be here any second, but no one had shown. Footsteps behind me, soft, measured. My hand hovered over my holster. "Susan?" I called, voice controlled. No reply. I spun, light slicing through shadow. Nothing but fence posts and soggy hay bales. I took a step forward, then heard it. A low mutter, so soft I almost missed it. "You shouldn't be here." The voice was close, perhaps within a few feet, but it wasn't Susan's. A woman's tone, but older, strained, and filled with accusation. I froze, scanning the tree line. The graves around the church suddenly felt like they were following me, their unblinking stones witnesses to my every move. The silo door was just ahead, closed and padlocked. Footfalls shifted behind me, someone circling. I swallowed, voice steady. "Who's there?" "Show yourself." Silence, then a soft chuckle, like metal rubbing. The chuckle grew into a rasp. "You think you can protect her?" The words curved around me, compelling and cold. My pulse spiked. I clicked my radio, whispering, "Dispatch, I've got multiple unknown presences. Request immediate assistance." Only static replied. I edged toward the silo door, each step deliberate. The night seemed to stretch its fingers around me. I reached the padlock and yanked at it. It held fast. My weapon light skimmed the ground. There, a key lying in the mud, its ring wedged into clumps of grass. I bent, scooped it up, wiped it on my coat, and slid it into the lock. It turned with a reluctant click. The door swung inward on squealing hinges. The diesel hum fluttered my hair. I pointed my light inside. A cavernous interior lined with catwalks and scaffolding. Empty, but for a loose chain swaying from the ceiling. Sawdust covered the floor, mounded in drifts like snow. I called out again, "Susan, it's Ramirez. Stay where you are." No answer, only the hum and my own heavy breath. The chain above swayed, as though something had brushed past it. I took a step in, then another, until I reached the first catwalk ladder. I climbed, each rung wobbling under my weight. At the top, I paused, scanning the dark expanse. My light caught on something scrawled in chalk on a metal beam. 2 words, "Help me." My heart seized. Chalk? Indoors? Whoever was here had left a message. But in the flicker of my light I saw more. Footprints on the catwalk, small and wet, leading to an open hatch high above. Susan's hatch, the secondary exit. I reached it and peered into the darkness beyond. Then I heard her voice, clear and urgent, echoing down from above. "Officer Ramirez, hurry!" I paused for a breath, tension coiling in my chest like a spring. 10 minutes ago, I thought this was about a missing librarian. Now, I could feel the real shape of this night. A labyrinth of hidden passages, whispered warnings, chalked pleas, and footprints leading everywhere and nowhere. I climbed toward her voice, each rung a question, each breath a promise I couldn't yet fulfill. I pushed the hatch fully open and hauled myself onto the narrow catwalk above, rain spitting through the opening and plastering my uniform to my back. The metal deck yawns beneath my boots, slick and echoing every footstep like a shout. Above me, the circular roof curves into a dark dome, rivets glinting in my light like a field of watchful eyes. The air up here is colder, thinner. Every breath feels borrowed. I force myself to breathe evenly, focusing on each inhale, each exhale, willing my pulse to calm. A few feet ahead, crouched against a support beam, is Susan Caldwell. Her coat is stained with mud, sleeves rolled up, and her hair hangs in damp strands around her face. The flashlight she holds trembles in her hand. Relief and dread surge at once. Relief that she's alive. Dread at everything we still don't know. "Don't move," I tell her softly, crouching beside her. My voice cracks like I'm trying to sound stronger than I feel. She meets my eyes, wide, haunted, and nods. I sweep the area with my weapon light. The catwalk circles the silo's interior in a shallow loop, punctuated by ladders and support struts. Below us, the layer of sawdust is disturbed by footprints. They lead from the ladder I climbed to a darker corner where the wall meets the floor. Someone, has been dragging something heavy. Each print is smeared, half erased, but unmistakable. A pattern of mud and clay ending in a smudge. I follow them with my light, anxious for any sign of struggle, of Susan's pursuer, of anyone. "There," I whisper, pointing to a flattened area of sawdust. The tracks veer toward a metal shutter at the base of the support beam. I kneel and run my glove through the dirt. It's warm. Someone passed here not long ago, pulling their feet as they walked. The weight of whoever it was must have pressed them into the sawdust. I trace the line up to the shutter's handle. It's rusted, but just loose enough to turn. I look back at Susan. "Stay here," I say, forcing calm. "I'm going to see what's behind this." I reach for the handle and twist. The shutter shifts upward with a grinding noise. Sunlight, weak and overcast, spilling in from outside. A narrow gap appears between the bottom of the shutter and the sawdust-covered floor. I strain to see through, but only catch a glimpse of muddy grass and a field beyond. Whoever used this exit climbed out here, then vanished into the night. I glance at my watch. 00:42. 16 minutes since Susan's call. I lift the shutter the rest of the way and squeeze through the opening. Weapon raised, light sweeping. The ground outside is churned up. Footprints, not just ours, but many sets, some small, some large, leading toward the overgrown embankment that edges the field. I step out, boot sinking into wet earth. The rain has slackened, but still hisses against my shoulders. The world is unnaturally quiet. No distant traffic, no bird calls, nothing but the cold wind through dead cornstalks. "Susan," I call, voice echoing. No response. I pivot, light slicing through the tall weeds. They rustle, but no shapes emerge. I force myself to crouch, scanning carefully for anything out of place. Then I spot it. A torn edge of Susan's coat caught on a fence post near the silo. The fabric is snagged there, and below, smudged footprints continue into a muddy rut leading downhill toward River Road. I follow the trail, heart thudding. My hand goes to my radio. "Dispatch, this is Ramirez. I've found Caldwell's coat snag. Footprints lead toward River Road, leaving the silo grounds. I'm pursuing on foot. Request backup at River Road intersection." Only static answers. The rain has killed reception. I push forward through the field, following the footprints that sink ankle-deep in mud. I think of every past case where footprints led nowhere, where people simply vanished. Each step reminds me I'm chasing hope and dread in the same breath. The field slopes downward, and ahead I make out the dark line of a country lane, lined with cottonwood trees and old telephone poles. No lights except the silo behind me and the occasional blink of a distant farmhouse. At the road's edge, the footprints end abruptly at a broken fence. Wood splinters jut out, soaked and drooping. I step through the gap and see tire ruts gouged into the soft shoulder. A rundown pickup truck's door is ajar, its engine off. I snap my light across the bed. Empty, but for a length of rope, and a single glove that matches the one I'm wearing. It lies half covered in mud. I crouch and pick it up, rubberized palm, fraying cuff. Not Susan's. Something about the way it's so carelessly tossed sends a cold knot through my stomach. A sudden crack, like a branch snapping, echoes behind me. I whirl, light darting across the road. Nothing. Then I notice footprints across the asphalt. Large, heavy, booted prints leading away from the truck toward the tree line on the opposite side. No smaller prints. Whoever wore that glove must have gone alone. I shined my light after the prints, but they disappear under a canopy of brush. I step into the road, listening. A gust of wind rattles leaves. Then another sound, a low groan, like someone shifting weight. I move toward the hedge, every instinct screaming caution. I call out, "Hello? Anyone there?" My voice sounds thin. The groan comes again, closer, muffled. I sidestep into the undergrowth, calling softly. The beam crosses over a tree stump and catches on a face, flashed white before the shadow swallows it. A woman's face, pale, cheeks streaked with tears and dirt. She ducks behind the stump and then scuttles away, deeper into the woods. I move after her, heart hammering. Branches claw at my coat, rainwater drips in my collar. I stumble, but keep going, shouting, "Susan! Wait!" But it isn't Susan. Her hair was darker. This woman wears a damp floral blouse, torn at the shoulder. Her eyes are wild, terrified. She glances back at me once, panic and pleading, then vanishes around a thick oak. I pause at the edge of the trees, flashlight trembling in my grip. I shouldn't chase unknown shapes in the dark, but I can't let another person slip away. Every lost soul out here is someone's reason to keep going. I step into the woods. The ground here is uneven, soaked. Twigs snap underfoot. I follow the faint rustle of clothing, the flash of white when moonlight breaks through clouds. After a minute that stretches like an hour, I come to a small clearing, Muddy footprints circle its perimeter. In the center lies an old rusted toolbox, its lid open, empty. Next to it, a silver locket, chain tangled in dirt. I kneel and pick it up. Inside is a faded photograph of a girl about Susan's age, smiling in front of a church much like St. Mary's. My pulse spikes. This locket could be hers, dropped or planted. Then a whisper on the wind. He watches. 3 words, clear and cold, no hint of gender. I snap my head toward the tree line. The woods are silent, but for the wind and rain. I stand, locket in hand, voice low. I need to know who those words belong to. No answer except the hush of leaves. I weigh my options, chase deeper into unknown woods with no backup, or return to the safety of the road and wait. The air smells of wet earth and fear. The tension coils in my chest. I'm not sure which is worse, seeing someone slip away or letting the forest swallow them whole. I make a decision. I'll follow the circle of footprints back to the road. Whatever or whoever is out here is not far. I climb out of the clearing, turning back toward the country lane. The night presses in behind me. I can almost hear footsteps padding silently through the dark, keeping pace just beyond my light. I step onto the shoulder of the road, flashlight trained on the tree line. Rain patters on my hat, heart still racing. The locket feels heavy in my hand. I slip it into my pocket. Ahead, I see the silhouette of the pickup truck again, its door swinging slightly in the breeze. And then, I notice something new. Fresh footprints leading from the trees to the passenger side of the truck. 2 sets this time, one larger, one smaller, both disappearing under the vehicle, like they're hiding there, waiting. My radio crackles unexpectedly. A voice? I can't make out the words at first through static, then, "Ramirez? Are you okay?" Relief crashes in that I haven't cut communication entirely. I answer quickly, voice firmer. "Yeah, found more prints. 2 sets leading under the truck. I'm checking it now." The response teeters on the edge of panic. Backup's 3 minutes out, but be careful. We're coming by car. I glance at the dark interior of the cab. No movement. My light sweeps the tires, the shadow. Beneath, the bigger boots, larger than mine, the smaller ones, they could be Susan's or the other woman's. One wrong step could ricochet into a tragedy. I breathe in the cold night air, steadying myself. Alive, but still lost in a web I thought I understood. The locket burns in my coat pocket. The whispered warning echoes in my head. He watches. I slide down on one knee, placing my light beam under the truck, ready to call their bluff. My finger tightens on the trigger. 5 seconds until backup. 5 seconds to uncover what or who has been guiding every step of this night. And then the ground rattles, a low vibration running through the dirt. Something metal shifts inside the truck bed. A breath catches in my throat. I hold my weapon light and steady, voice low. Come out slowly. No answer. The waiting stretches. Outside, the night closes in. I count down the last seconds before backup arrives, 3 minutes, ticking like a fuse in my chest. The diesel hum beneath the truck mixes with distant thunder, and the night feels alive around me, poised to throttle any misstep. I inch forward, weapon light sweeping across the undercarriage. The metal ribs of the bed cast long shadows, and the air smells of oil and damp earth. I force my hand steady on the grip, every muscle coiled, ready to react. The smaller set of footprints stops just beneath the driver's door. The larger set, deep, booted, continues under the chassis toward the passenger side. Whoever they are, they didn't step back. They waited. That tells me they know this ground that they're willing to face me. I shine the beam higher onto the folded tarp at the rear. It's heavy canvas, wet and smeared with clay. I kneel and reach out, fingers brushing the edge. It shifts. Something is trapped beneath it. My heart hammers as I grip the tarp's edge and slowly peel it back. The beam reveals the barrel of a pistol, half hidden by fabric. No one's inside the bed, but the weapon is ominous and too large to belong to Susan. I clamp my other hand over the pistol's grip. It's not a weapon I issue. Someone walked here, unloaded it, then creeped under the truck. I glance back at the woods, no movement, but I sense eyes in the dark watching me. Thunder rumbles overhead, and the first heavy drops of rain begin to fall again, pattering on metal and mud. I slip the pistol into an evidence bag and slide it into my jacket. Then, because every instinct tells me it's time, I call out, low but forceful. "This is Officer Ramirez. Come out with your hands up." Silence. The rain intensifies, and the world shrinks to the space beneath this truck and the blackness beyond. I rise to my feet, weapon drawn, light trained on the road. 3 minutes, 2 minutes. My radio crackles. Broken voices, phrases. "You there? Hold position. We're 10 seconds out." Relief warms my fingers, but I don't lower my light. I lock eyes on the passenger door. Something shifts inside. A shape sliding, metal creaking softly. I take a step forward. The shape retreats. I squat beside the tire, sliding my light under to the leaf-littered ground. Then, a hand pushes out from beneath, pale and shaking. The owner hauls himself out on all fours, chest heaving, eyes wild. I recognize him immediately. Reverend Milligan. His collar is soaked, jacket torn at the sleeve, one shoe missing. He stares up at me, mud caked on his knees. "Deputy?" he rasps, voice strangled. "You shouldn't be out here." Rain washes over his face, tears or water, can't tell which. My mind spins. Why is the pastor here? Why did Susan's call lead to him? My mouth goes dry. "Reverend, what the hell? Are you hurt?" He shakes his head, reaching for my boot. His fingers curl around my shin and he pulls himself toward me. I offer a steadying hand but keep my weapon trained on the truck. He coughs, whispering, "They followed me." He glances up, eyes darting to the tree line. "I tried to warn you." His gaze flickers past me into the shadows. It's in the woods. Before I can ask more, headlights carve 2 parallel beams down the country lane. Backup arrives. 2 cruisers screech to a halt, tires skidding in mud. Officers leap out, weapons drawn, shouting my name. I lower my light and radio clipped to my belt crackles to life. "Officer Ramirez, are you secure?" "Suspect?" The voice cuts off as one of the officers kneels beside me. I help Reverend Milligan to his feet. His hand trembles on my arm. "Deputy," he whispers, "she's still out there." He nods toward the farmhouse lights across the road, where the field meets the forest edge. The abandoned place I thought was empty. The convoy of cruiser lights reveals a porch with a single lamp flickering to life. As we watch, the front door swings open just enough for a silhouette to slip outside and vanish into darkness. A collective ripple runs through the officers. I raise my weapon again, stepping toward the farmhouse. Rain beats on my hat, heart thudding. Backup surrounds me. We move as a team, lights dancing over warping boards and sagging rafters. I pause at the edge of the porch, rain dripping through the boards, water pooling at my boots. The house door hangs off its hinges. Inside, only darkness and a stale odor of mold. I sweep the beam across the threshold, broken dishes, an overturned chair, and on the wall, scrawled in dripping clay, "He watches." Exactly the words I found in the clearing. And below them, a new message, smeared and half-washed by rain. Find her. My stomach knots. We clear room after room, empty, silent, save for the dripping water. No Susan, no other woman from the woods, but in each doorway, footprints trace the dusty thresholds, some large, some small, all leading deeper into the house and then back out. Dining room, parlor, down the hallway to the back door. The back door stands ajar, and beyond it, the woods await like hungry jaws. I step outside, rain soaking through my coat as I hold the beam toward the trees. Stay close, I call to the team. We fan out, flashlights cutting paths into green-black brush. The forest floor is dotted with footprints, enough to fill my memory with half-seen shapes and whispers. We follow them, and every so often, one of the officers stops and points. Nails tacked to trees, warning signs carved crudely. A pair of eyes circled, an arrow pointing forward. Pastor Milligan trails behind us, stooped, silent. I catch his eye, and he shakes his head, shadows under his eyes deeper than the night. She led you here, he says, voice low. She knows the way. My mind races. Susan, the pastor. Who does he mean? Who is she? Is Susan as lost as we are, or is someone else orchestrating everything? We push on until the footprint trail ends at a narrow creek, its water swollen by rain, rushing like a living thing. A fallen log bridges the gap for weary trespassers. On the far bank, a cluster of white flowers. Yesterday's balloons, tangled in brush, their ribbons fluttering like broken spirits. Among them, a single blue scarf. My breath catches. Susan's scarf. The one she wore on her last library shift, the one she told me she prized. I cross quickly, boots slipping, disregard warnings from officers behind me. The scarf lies atop fresh earth. I reach out, touch it, cold. The earth beneath smells of root and rot. I look up to the trees beyond, where branches weave a ceiling that blocks out the sky. The rain keeps falling, thunder muttering overhead. And then I hear it, a faint hum, low and vibrating, like the silo's engine but distant and transformed. The forest shakes with it. My blood runs cold. The pastor whispers, "He's here." No question, no pause, just certainty. I shine my light through the trees. In the distance, past the creek, I see the shape of a small figure. Someone hunched, bleeding moonlight through wet hair. I step forward, voice steadying. "Susan?" My heart leaps. The figure straightens. Not Susan. A man, tall, gaunt, face obscured by shadows. He tilts his head, as if surprised we found him. I aim my weapon, voice low but unwavering. Step into the light. The hum rises, swirling through the trees. The man's figure dissolves into the rain and the forest. My light pulses over empty air. No footsteps, no trace. Only the night's oppressive weight. Behind me, officers call out, flashlights darting. I spin. The pastor stands silent, watching me. I lower my weapon, heart hammering. "He was right here," I say, voice breaking. He was someone, something. The rain falls, erasing footprints, covering the locket in mud. The balloons, the scarf, they're all I have to prove anyone was here. I kneel, gathering them, as thunder flashes behind the trees. My breath catches. I look up, and there, carved into the bark of an oak, is a single word. "Again?" I stand, rain soaking through me, mind spinning with questions that have no answers, and realize that the night isn't over. Not by a long shot. The rain eases to a steady drizzle as I stare at the carved word. Again? My breath comes in ragged gusts. The forest around me seems to hold its breath too, every leaf and branch frozen in the dim light. I swallow hard, my throat raw, and slip the blue scarf into my jacket pocket. Balloons, ribbons, the locket, They're proof this place bore witness, however briefly, to someone's terror. But the man I saw, the silhouette that dissolved into rain, he feels more real in my mind than this muddy clearing at my knees. I rise, boots squelching in wet earth, and shine my flashlight into the tree line. The beam quivers with each step. Reverend Milligan slips beside me, his footprints overlapping mine. He's silent, shoulders hunched as though bracing for a blow. My voice, crumbled from shouting in empty rooms, from radio calls that answered only static, finds its strength again. "Pastor, we need to find her. Now." He nods once, solemn, and we push forward. The forest floor is soft underfoot, bracken and ferns bruised by storm. Each snap of a twig under our boots sounds like thunder in my ears. I think of Susan, missing librarian, small-town girl who trusted me to find her. I think of the other woman who darted through these trees earlier, of the Reverend scrambling from beneath that truck. And I think of that final whisper. He watches. Whoever he is, he's orchestrating every step, leaving taunts carved in bark, messages in sawdust, voices echoing through crawl spaces. We reach a stand of towering pines, their needles mottled with rain. A hollow opens at the base of one tree, half shrouded by hanging roots. Beneath it, mud is trampled, half-formed footprints heading inward. I kneel, shining my light into the dark alcove. A scrap of paper lies there, pressed into the mud. I fish it out, washed by rain but still legible. Trust no step but your own. My heart stutters at the implication. Whoever left this sign wants me to question every footprint I follow. The forest around me feels like a maze designed by someone who knows its secrets. A distant light flickers to life between the trees. A single lamp glowing near a clearing. My pulse spikes. I've never seen power out here. I rise, holstering my weapon as I step toward it. Reverend Milligan falls in beside me, his footsteps cautious. As we break into the clearing, I see a solitary trailer home. Rusted siding patched with plastic sheeting, a sagging wooden porch, windows dark except for that one lamp. Smoke drifts from a stovepipe chimney, carrying the scent of wood smoke and something else. Coffee? Or something stronger. I clear my throat and step onto the porch, boots clanging on loose boards. The door stands open a crack, swinging slowly on worn hinges. I call, voice echoing, "Marion P.D. Anyone here?" No answer. The preacher hangs back, crossing himself under his soaked collar. I enter, flashlight sweeping a small living room. Card table against the wall, 2 chairs pulled out as if recently vacated. A pot on the table, coffee cold, half drunk. On the tablecloth, stained with spilled grounds, I see another scrap of writing, this time on a torn napkin. "Do not trust him." My breath hitches. Do not trust him, him being me. The man orchestrating this twisted midnight game wants me doubting myself. I pace the single room, scanning for exits. There's a narrow hall that likely leads to a bedroom and bathroom. The preacher whispers, "It's bait." I nod, voice low. We move together. We step into the hallway. The walls are lined with faded family photos, smiling faces from another era. Children grinning at the camera, parents in Sunday best. Some pictures are scratched, lines gouged into glass, as if someone wanted to mar those happy memories. I pause at one frame. A small girl with dark curls, eyes identical to Susan's photograph in the locket. Beneath it, a handwritten name, Margaret Caldwell, 1947. My heart twists. Susan Caldwell. Could she be related to this home? Did she come here, or did someone plant this image to lure me? A soft creak from the bedroom ahead. I raise my weapon light and motion Reverend Milligan to my side. Together, we approach. I pivot the doorknob, unlocked. The room beyond is tiny. 2 beds, a small dresser. On one bed, a single sock, muddy and torn, matching Susan's missing footwear. My throat seizes. On the dresser, journals stacked in a neat row, spines cracked and titles too faded to read. I step forward and flip one open. Inside, entries in neat cursive, dated across decades. The most recent, October 14th, she came again. I cannot prevent her. The preacher exhales behind me. She, I whisper. Then I hear another sound, a muffled sob from the far corner. My light darts to a closet where its door sits ajar. Breaking my grip on the journal, I step forward and part the door. Inside, curled into herself, is the woman in the floral blouse, the one I thought I glimpsed in the woods. She lifts her head, eyes red, tears mixing with rain-soaked hair. Relief bleeds into my chest. Someone alive. But my voice trembles. "Ma'am, it's all right. I'm here to help." She stares, uncomprehending at first, then recognition flickers. She scrambles out, clinging to me, voice cracked. "They said you'd come. They said you'd be safe." I exchange a look with Reverend Milligan. "Who said?" I ask gently. She shakes her head, breath hitching. "I don't know." A voice? It told me to wait here. A floorboard creaks behind me. I whirl. Reverend Milligan stands at the door, eyes fixed on the dresser. He raises a hand to stop me. On the dresser, open to the last page of the top journal, are words freshly scrawled in deep red ink. "Welcome back, Gerald. I see you found my collection." My blood drains as I read. My name, Gerald, not Ramirez, stares back at me. I spin to the woman in my arms, then to the Reverend, then to the journal. None of this makes sense. My pulse rattles. My brain screams. Someone here knows my real name. Someone calling me Gerald, keeping journals of visits, orchestrating whispers in church basements and crawl spaces beneath buildings I've known for decades. Behind me, the woman in the floral blouse presses closer, eyes wide. I pull my light back to the closet, heart hammering. Then I see it, fresh handprints smudged on the inside of the closet door, smeared as though whoever scrawled them had been struggling, and beneath the handprints carved into the wood. "Again, Gerald?" My voice catches. "Reverend, how?" He shakes his head, pale. "I don't know. This place, it's been waiting for you." The trailer home feels suddenly small, its walls pulsating with secrets I've never known. My gun hand lowers, shaking. My mind races through everyone I've ever met, every shadow I chased. How many times have I thought I was closing a case, only to realize I was walking into someone's design? I turn back to the journals, flipping pages at random, each entry addressed to Gerald, describing nights he came here, nights old sins replayed, nights the author watched him. The closing line of the most recent entry reads, "Your guests are assembled. We begin anew." Behind me, the floral blouse woman steps into the room, though I never saw her leave the closet. She stands in the open doorway, silhouetted by the lamp's glow. Her mouth moves, voice hollow. "We've been waiting." My breath fails. Reverend Milligan's hand on my shoulder trembles. Outside, the wind whispers through the trees, stirring the trailer's ramshackle siding. Rain seeps under the door. I realize then that the forest, the church, the silo, they were all stages. And I, Gerald Ramirez, have been the center of a performance I never auditioned for. The floral blouse woman steps closer, eyes unfocused but drilling into mine. She utters a single word, clear as thunder. "Again." And the walls of the trailer echo it back. No one speaks. The storm's roar fills every silence. My world tilts on its axis. The final question sweeps over me on a cold breeze. When did my past become this nightmare? And who is pulling the strings? I stand rooted in the center of that cramped trailer room, the weight of every unanswered question pressing down on me like the stagnant air around us. The woman in the floral blouse, Margaret Caldwell's daughter, I suddenly realize, though her eyes bear neither Margaret's features nor Susan's, shivers where she stands, rainwater dripping from her sleeves onto the warped floorboards. Reverend Milligan leans against the doorframe, silent, his collar dark with moisture. The journals lie open on the dresser, their pages fluttering in the draft that seeps through cracks in the walls. I swallow, mouth dry. The word again throbs like a pulse in my skull. Gerald Ramirez. I stifle that name now, realizing how every ounce of my identity has been stitched into this nightmare. I force myself to step forward, boots creaking on loose boards. Each step feels like walking through memory, and memory here is as treacherous as these shadows. Why me? My voice finally cracks the silence, low and urgent. What? Who are you? Margaret's daughter tilts her head, as though studying my face for a while before answering. She moves as if underwater, frail limbs carrying the weight of something ancient. You built this place, she says softly. All those nights when you cleared houses, when you trailed footprints through dusty basements. I blink. What? I never came here before tonight. She steps closer, and I notice something I hadn't before, that her eyes aren't focusing on me, but something just beyond. I turn my light past her, into the shadows where the trailer ends and a narrow hallway leads deeper, rooms I haven't seen. My breathing stutters. There's more, I whisper. Of course there is. Her voice falters, then steadies. Every time you thought you solved a case, you closed a door behind you. You left fragments, footprints, whispers, chalk scraps. You left them so you could forget. But I watched. I collected them. She raises her hands, revealing scars crisscrossing pale skin like a map of pain. I've watched you walk through your own hunt. I reel. How? Why? She smiles, a ripple of sorrow. Margaret died here years ago. You never came to help her. You closed that door in the church basement. You walked past her footprints under the silo. You heard her whispers in your radio static. And you left, every time, believing you were right. My gut twists. I recall the church basement. Susan's shoe, the whisper. The silo, help me, the forest. He watches. I had thought these were clues to find her. They were in fact Margaret's. Echoes of the time I failed to save her mother. I never knew. I never noticed. Margaret steps aside, revealing the hallway's entrance. She's here, she says. She's been waiting for you to face her. I flick my light down the hallway. 2 closed doors, each marked with a faded label. Library on one, sanctuary on the other. My insides flip. The library door reminds me of Susan. The sanctuary calls back to the chapel. Which one holds the next pulse of this dark heart? Have you seen her? I ask Margaret. She nods, advancing into the hallway. But not as you'll see her. Reverend Milligan steps forward, voice low. Gerald, you have to choose. His use of my first name cuts through me like glass. This ends tonight one way or another. I feel the old uniform against my chest, the radio clipped to my belt, the pistol heavy at my side. All the tools I thought defined me now feel like chains. I take a trembling breath and step toward the library door. Every instinct screams that this is wrong. But what if it's the only way to unravel the last thread? The door swings open silently. Inside, shelves line the walls. Books soaked through, pages plastered together. In the center sits Susan, bound to a chair, face turned away. Her shoulders heave with sobs. Chains glint in the lamplight. Her hair is plastered to her face. Her eyes, when she looks up, burn with recognition and fear. "Officer, Gerald, please," she whispers, voice breaking. "I'm sorry I led you here." I move toward her, heart pounding. "Susan." She shakes her head. "No. Margaret's daughter needs you to finish this. You failed her mother. You carried her memory in footprints, whispers, chalk. Now you must carry her ashes." I glance back at Margaret, who stands at the doorway, eyes glistening. Gravity feels like a lie, reality shifting beneath my boots. What? What do you mean?" Margaret's daughter steps in behind me, reaching into her jacket. She withdraws a small urn, metal, scarred, heavy. "Her mother's ashes. You've been carrying pieces of this case in your mind all these years. Now you must carry her remains to the place where it began." Susan gasps, reaching for the urn. Reverend Milligan's face goes white. I realize with a jolt that this is the final act, the transfer of weight, the confrontation with what I ignored. I set my pistol aside on a battered desk and reach for the urn. My hands tremble as I lift it, the metal warm against my gloves. Outside, the storm falls silent. The trailer walls seem to contract inward. I turn to Susan, heartbreaking. I'm sorry," I choke. She nods, tears carving paths through the dirt on her face. "Go home, let her rest." I step back, turning toward the sanctuary door across the hall. Reverend Milligan blocks her path, glancing at me for permission. I nod, voice hollow. We end it here. Together, we cross the threshold into a room bathed in the faint glow of a single, stained glass window. St. Mary, face serene despite the storm outside. The floor is a mosaic of broken tiles, shards of glass glinting in the light. In the center, an altar draped in tattered cloth. I kneel, setting the urn before it. Margaret's daughter and Susan stand behind me, silent witnesses. Reverend Milligan closes the trailer door, sealing the outside world away. I open the urn, the ashes swirling when I breathe on them. For a moment, time holds its breath as I lift the lid. Then I pour the ashes onto the altar. They scatter, whispering over the broken tiles slipping through cracks. In that instant, I feel her presence, Margaret Caldwell, at peace, her story unburdened from my failures. My chest tightens as I exhale, tears free at last. Silence follows as profound as the forest's hush, as empty as the chapel's quiet. I rise and brush my hands on my coat, turning away. Susan and Margaret's daughter remain at the altar, united in grief and release. Reverend Milligan steps beside me, his hand on my shoulder. We leave the trailer together. Outside, dawn's first light breaks through the pines, illuminating the path back to the church, the silo, the forest, back to a world I thought I knew. The urn remains behind, its purpose fulfilled. Walking back down the rutted farm road, I realize the unresolved truth. This night didn't end with a rescue. It ended with confession and contrition. The cases I closed, the footprints I followed, they were never mine alone. They belonged to every life I passed, every plea I ignored. As the trailer fades into the trees behind me, Reverend Milligan and Susan at my side, I carry Margaret's ashes and a question that will never fully leave me. What other voices have I silenced in pursuit of justice, and who else waits for me to listen? I ease out of my patrol car and let the rain soak through my uniform. Didn't bother grabbing an umbrella. It was 2:17 a.m. again, and that time still felt like a number burned into my skull. The neon sign outside Harper's Grocery sputtered its last glow in jerky flashes, each pulse echoing through the empty street. I've learned over 16 years that the darkness isn't silent. It hums with unanswered questions. Here, on the outskirts of Marion, Ohio, the hum rattles in your bones. I check my sidearm reflexively, though I know it won't solve this. Dispatch went dark 30 minutes ago. I radio in one last time before killing the mic, but static was all I got. The digital clock on my dashboard glared back. 2:18. I step onto the gravel shoulder, boots sinking slightly into damp stones. My breath comes in shallow bursts. The grocery door hangs open, its hinges groaning against the wind. No street lamps nearby, just that single neon flicker. I torch the interior through the glass. Empty shelves, an overturned cart, cardboard boxes taped shut in corners. I move in, gun drawn but low, following footprints in the dust that lead toward the rear office. They're too large for a teenager, too fresh to be old. My pulse races against the hammering rain. The door to the manager's office yawns ajar, the words "manager only" printed crookedly on the glass. I push it with my shoulder. It creaks, protests, then gives. Inside, receipts litter the floor, the computer monitor shattered, wires dangling like entrails. I sweep my torch across the walls. Nothing until I see it. Carved into the plywood. Letters jagged and uneven, spelling "wait." My chest tightens. I've weathered bar fights, runaway trucks, domestic disputes. But there's a different weight to this moment. The awareness that some things aren't meant to be found. I trace the word with my thumb. My radio slides from my belt and clatters onto the desk. I ignore it, stepping past to a door marked "storage." The tapping starts, rhythmic, deliberate, slow. I pause, zero in on the sound. It's coming from inside that storeroom. I whisper, "Teresa?" Out of habit, knowing she's off duty days ago. She answered one silent call at Miller's Repair down County Road 7 and then vanished. A missing persons case filed under routine until patterns emerged. I grip the handle. It's cold metal. I inhale and pull. The door swings inward. Rows of shelves stand like silent sentinels. Cans of soup, boxes of cereal, dusty cleaning supplies. At the far end, the tapping continues, steady now, against a crate stacked too high. I inch forward, heart hammering. My flashlight catches movement. A tall figure in a dark coat, hood up, back to me. I clear my throat, keeping my voice even. "Officer Merrick, Marion PD, you okay?" The figure pivots slowly, stepping into the beam. No face, just the hood's shadow. My breath hitches. "Who is that? Show yourself." For a heartbeat, nothing. Then the figure lifts something long, wrapped in cloth. I lunge sideways, adrenaline superseding caution. A harsh clang echoes as the object hits the metal shelf, cans rattling like frightened animals. I scramble for my radio, but static screams back. Rain pours in through a broken vent above, creating a staccato rhythm. I seize a nearby hammer from a fallen box. Instinct. The figure steps closer, wet footsteps on concrete. I raise the hammer, voice shaking. "Stop! I need you to stop." The figure pauses, head tilting in that unnatural way. Then a laugh, a thin, cold sound, familiar cadence. My heart trips. I focus the torch on the face. It's her, Teresa Vasquez, pale, soaked, eyes wide but empty. I drop the hammer. My legs give way. She staggers forward, hands outstretched as if begging forgiveness. Blood seeps through her sleeve. "Teresa!" My voice cracks. I reach out. She flinches, retreating a step, wiping blood from her cheek, mixing with rain. "You didn't check." My mind scrambles. She died 3 nights ago. I saw her badge on my desk, 512, nothing else. Now, here she is, breathing. The contradiction thunders louder than rain. I stagger back. Pain lances up my leg, ankle twisted when I dove aside. I draw my gun again, though I doubt it'll help. She raises a finger, eyes glistening. Look, I force myself to focus. Behind her, a panel in the wall has shifted. A narrow crawlspace yawns open, darkness deeper than the room. From inside, I hear skittering, pipes rattling, something being dragged. My radio's static has stopped. The channel is silent. "Teresa, what the hell is this?" I choke out. She steps aside, blood dripping onto the floor. The crawlspace widens. I shine my torch inside, nothing but black. I remember the night at Crestwood, years ago, hearing Holloway's panic in the hidden evidence room. I remember the suffocating air, the smell of old blood on cardboard boxes, the knowledge that justice sometimes hides in plain sight. My chest tightens. I should retreat, call for backup, wait for the State Bureau. But the uniform weighs heavy, and the knowledge that someone, somewhere, stepped over the line demands I go further. I pull myself toward the crawlspace entrance. Teresa's voice, barely a whisper. "He's here." My pulse spikes. The hammer still lies on the floor. The grocery's neon light pulses once more, then dies entirely. The aisle plunges into darkness. I slip the barrel of my gun into my coat pocket and kneel, sliding into the tunnel head first. The walls scrape my uniform, dust motes swirling in beam of torch disappearing above. I hear wet breath, labored, coming from somewhere ahead. A flash of movement. I freeze. My ankle throbs, but I can't stop. I inch forward, heart hammering. Another shape rounds a corner, taller than Teresa, shoulders broad, movements stilted. I press against the wall, breath shallow. Then I'm on my knees in a small chamber. The torch illuminates a circle of worn concrete floor. At its center, a bundle wrapped in oilcloth. The tapping resumes, now a rapid staccato. My gaze flicks to Teresa's face, framed by hood. Blood drips from her chin. Her lips move. I strain to hear. "It's not over," she says. "You didn't find it all." Behind me, a rattling behind the panel. The space that should lead back to the office now feels like a one-way door. I rise, heart in my throat. The bundle pulses. Someone breathing inside. I step closer, hand reaching for the oilcloth. A distant thunder roll shakes the wall. The panel shudders. I meet Teresa's eyes, at once pleading and warning. Then the lights go out. The world tilts. I'm on the concrete, swallowing dust. My torch clatters away, spinning in darkness. Footsteps echo in the crawlspace, slow and measured. Rain seeps through cracks overhead. My uniform tastes of grease and fear. Teresa's voice trails off, swallowed by shadows. You can't ignore it. And then, silence. I claw at the darkness, wrench tears from my eyes. The only sound is my ragged breath and the distant echo of rain. My hand finds the edge of the oilcloth. I feel wet fabric and something stiff beneath. The panel clicks shut behind me, and somewhere in the pitch-black tunnel something moves. I grope in the darkness, fingers curling around something damp and rough. The oilcloth bundle is smaller than I expected. Maybe the size of a child's coat, but its weight is solid, unyielding. My chest tightens as I realize every instinct I've ever had screams to back away, to run. But the uniform anchors me here, a reminder of the oath I took. My breathing echoes in the tunnel, the concrete walls pressing close. I force myself to stay calm, sliding my hand along the bundle's edge, seeking an opening. The fabric is slick with moisture, stiff in places as though coated in something thick. Possibly oil, possibly blood. I tug at a frayed corner. The cloth resists, then gives with a quiet pop. Inside, wrapped in additional layers, I discover a small metal box. Its surface is scratched with initials. V, my pulse spikes. HV, Harper's Vigilante, a name I'd thought was just a local myth, whispered after the grocery closed. They said an unknown civilian had patrolled these streets at night, meting out justice where officers failed. Some thought it a rumor spread by kids to scare newcomers, but here it is, tangible. I flip the latch. It opens with a groan. Inside lies a handful of Polaroid photographs, edges curled and waterlogged. I lift the top one into view. The image is dark, a blurred figure crouched over a prone form in the aisle of Harper's Grocery. I squint. Recognition claws at me. It's Officer Lucas Grant, kneeling beside someone who looks like Teresa, though her face is twisted and unrecognizable in shadow. Her arm lies at an impossible angle. My stomach knots. I drop the photo. It flutters to the floor, landing face down so I can't see more. A distant drip, drip, drip echoes off the walls. I realize the panel has jammed behind me. The tunnel that led back to the office is gone. The concrete wall is solid. There's no return the way I came. A sudden wave of claustrophobia pins me to the spot. I pat my pockets for my phone. Gone. Radio. Gone. Flashlight. Somewhere beyond reach in the crawlspace's entrance. My ankle throbs until every heartbeat feels like a hammer blow against bone. I'm trapped. I force a step forward, surprised at my own courage. I have to know what's in that box. I fish out another Polaroid. This one shows the back of a man in a dark coat, face hidden, carrying the bundle I found. He stands outside the grocery, neon flickering above him. Underneath, on the gravel, someone's hand reaches out. Fingers splayed, imploring. The rain makes the image streaky. My voice echoes hollow. Who took these? Why hide them? No answer, only the damp air. I turn, searching for any passage, anything. My torch beam is gone. I'm alone with the photos and the oppressive quiet. Memories flood. Late November, 10 years ago, when I first heard of the disappearances in Crestwood, the department's secret. Holloway's warning, forget what you saw. I remember the pain of those fold-out chairs in the basement, the smell of cardboard evidence boxes leaking something foul. I remember thinking justice was a straight line, not a circle that circled back to swallow you whole. A metallic scrape somewhere ahead. I freeze. Maybe it's the panel loosening? I edge toward the sound, pain in my ankle, a distant roar. The tunnel narrows, forcing me to turn sideways. Drips of water fall, pattering on the concrete. A faint, cold breeze brushes my cheek. Ahead, a faint glow flickers, like a cigarette lighter or a match. I crawl forward. The improv light dances on rough stone until I'm kneeling before a low opening in the wall. The glow is a single, flickering candle. Beyond it is another chamber, larger, ringed with identical crawl spaces branching off. The candle's flame trembles on a small shelf carved into the rock. Next to it, wedged under a heavy tile, is a battered journal. The cover reads HV Logs, 2011 to 2013. My fingers tremble as I lift it. Inside, cramped handwriting, ink smeared by damp fingers. I flip pages, entries detailing nightly vigils at deserted locations, Harper's Grocery, Miller's Repair, the old church on Elm Street. The writer chronicles overheard dispatch chatter, missing officer reports, odd alarms, hushed warnings to stay away. Each entry ends with, "I'm close." I have to expose it. One entry catches my breath. November 14th, 2011, obtained the final evidence, the department's own files. They killed her for looking too hard. They'll kill me next. The next page is blank except for 2 words scrawled roughly, "Find me." The flame gutters. A chill spreads, as though the candlelight itself has died. I close the journal, heart pounding. Find me. The words echo. Who wrote this, and where are they now? A shuffle behind me jolts me upright. I spin, box and journal clutch to my chest. The 7 crawlspace openings stand like doorways in a crypt. From one, a pair of boots steps into the candle's glow. I freeze, grateful for a target. He, or she, emerges. A slender figure in a dark coat, hands gloved, face hidden in the brim of a wide hat. The candle glints off something metallic at their waist. Another box, identical to the one I hold. They raise a hand, beckoning. My voice rasps, "Who are you?" No answer. Instead, the figure tilts their head, and I feel decades of unspoken secrets, years of vigilante justice, a hunger for truth that outlasts flesh. They kneel, placing their own box beside the candle. Then, in a gesture that's almost tender, they pull something from their coat. A tarnished police badge, number H512, half stuck to a piece of soaked fabric. My blood runs cold. H512. H for Harper's, 512 for Teresa's badge. My mind blurs. Is this the missing officer, or someone who took her place? They open their box, reveal a single Polaroid, the one I dropped face down. The image flips slowly in the candlelight. Me, stepping into this crawlspace for the first time, rain dripping off my shoulders. Behind me, a shadowy figure with no face. The figure stands, placing the photo at my feet. Their gloved fingers leave no prints. Then, in a voice as soft as falling rain, they say, "You were supposed to save her." My knees buckle. The candle flickers violently, as though buffeted by an unseen wind. I lunge for the photo, but it slips from my grasp, fluttering across the floor toward another crawlspace. The figure steps back, hat brim casting them entirely in shadow. They turn and retreat into the darkness of the second tunnel, candle left to sputter out. A final whisper drifts past me, barely audible. "Find me." Then the light dies. I'm alone again, boxed in by silent tunnels, clutching empty air where answers should be. The weight of the badges, the HV box, the torn badge, the Polaroids, presses against my chest. My ankle screams. I pant, gaze flitting to the seal that cuts me off from the office above. The parallel openings yawn like ribs in a corpse. I realize I can't stay, but every exit path promises more darkness, more secrets. Tension coils in my gut as I decide which crawlspace leads to truth and which leads to whatever doom waits beyond disclosure. I catch my reflection in the last flicker of dying candle. Eyes wide, uniform drenched, heart pounding. And I know I have to choose. But which door do I take? I press my palm against the cool concrete where the panel sealed me in, the dust and grit clinging under my fingernails. My breath steams in the stale air as I stare down the first crawlspace, the low arch of rough stone, only inches overhead. The floor is slick where water drips, pooling in shallow rivulets that trace faint channels toward the center of the chamber. I tighten my grip on the journal and the metal box. Their weight is the only proof I still exist in this oppressive dark. Every instinct screams to flee back the way I entered, to find daylight and call for backup. But I know the truth is deeper down one of these corridors, and leaving now guarantees I'll spend the rest of my life haunted by what if. I choose the corridor to my left, the smallest opening because fear told me smaller spaces feel safer than wide-open caverns where anything can hide. I squeeze forward, elbows bent, chest aligned with my knees to fit. My uniform pant legs snag on rough edges, tearing the fabric. I taste blood at my lip where I bit it. With each inch I advance, the air grows colder, and the distant dripping grows louder like a countdown. My ankle burns with each bent knee, but adrenaline dulls the pain into a low hum behind my skull. After what feels like an eternity, my knee finds flat ground. I push up into a half crouch and press my flashlight against what little daylight I still cling to in memory. My hand dips into darkness. I slide the metal box into my coat pocket for balance and fish out a slim knife from my boot. I flick it open and scrape away a section of concrete exuding moisture. Behind it, a crusted wire springs loose, an old electrical conduit, its sparks extinguished long ago. I realize this corridor was once wired for light. Someone shut it down deliberately. I follow the conduit deeper, the knife light carving shadows that shift like living things. The walls here bear scratch marks, parallel gouges several feet off the floor, as though someone forced their way through before me without crawling. My heart hammers as I realize I'm not the first, nor likely the last. Somewhere along this tunnel, a previous seeker trudged through, leaving only desperation behind. A low groan rumbles through the stone, maybe the earth settling, maybe something alive. I pause, every nerve taut. My breath feels loud. I struggle to keep my voice quiet and calm. "This is Officer Merrick. Anyone, if you can hear me, respond." My words vanish in the echo. No reply, only dripping and the distant skitter of something tiny. Rats, I tell myself. Rats don't tap out messages on walls. Rats don't carve initials. Rats don't leave Polaroids behind. The tunnel slopes downward, the knife forcing me to wedge crawl again. My jacket catches on a jut of stone, tears a collar seam. My torch's beam begins to shudder as the battery nears its end. I pop it off in a rough motion and jam it into my pocket, cutting contacts so I can conserve power. Now I'm blind, except for the faint glow of phosphorescence clinging to the walls, greenish in patches, maybe minerals, maybe something else. The farther I go, the more unsettling the walls look. Streaks of dark stains I can't identify, not quite rust, not quite mold. Something older, something that wants to be forgotten. My knee hits solid earth. I push upward, wincing. The corridor opens into a wide chamber, barely room to stand. I test the floor with my boot. It groans, but holds. I fish out the journal, holding it between teeth and hand. The candlelight that once flickered here is gone. The chamber is pitch black, save for my dying torch. I click it on. The weak glow reveals a circle of stones set into the floor, arranged in a pattern that feels ritualistic. In the center, scratched into the rock, are letters, Merrick. My name, spelled wrong, missing one R, but unmistakably mine. My pulse spikes. The stones around it bear scuff marks, as though dragged into this configuration. I lay the journal on one, pages splayed open. Flipping through, I find an entry dated October 3rd, 2011. Drew the circle. Tried to tell him to stop. He didn't listen. Justice won't wait underground. Beneath that, a scribbled line erased and overwritten with Merrick in tremulous handwriting. The writer knew me, named me. Someone who stood where I stand now, watching me descend further into the truth. A sudden draft whistles through a narrow passage opposite the one I entered. The temperature drops further. My torch flickers. I drop to a crouch, eyeing the new opening. It's smaller, vertical slits that suggest ancient vents. I push through and find myself in a tunnel, lined with wooden beams, rotting and moldy. The air here smells of leather and old sweat. My flash catches the sheen of something hanging from a hook on the wall, an oilskin coat, stained brown. I recognize the cut, once worn by patrol officers decades ago. On the coat's breast pocket, a metal badge awaits, 007, the number meaningless, yet echoing code-like in this place. I gingerly lift the coat. Inside the pocket is a folded sheet of paper, brittle with age. Careful not to tear it, I unfold it. The paper reads, "They said I'd be safe here. They promised it was finished. But tonight the echoes return. No signature, nothing else. Just that fragment." I tuck it into my journal. Another piece to the puzzle. My flashlight dies with a final sputter. I press the button again, nothing. The beam's click lingers in the darkness. I hear my own breath, ragged. I consider turning back, but the sense of momentum, the weight of every unanswered clue, compels me onward. I strike my flint lighter, a spark, a small glow. The flame trembles in my hand, spotlighting the tunnel ahead, where a fresh set of footprints in the dust beckons me forward. I light the candle from my pocket, the one I folded into my coat before descending, and set it on a beam buckle, careful to avoid the soaked floor. The flame steadies, providing enough light to see perhaps 20 feet ahead. The footprints end at a low wall cutout, veiled with a cloth of thick burlap. I peel it aside, revealing a narrow stairwell carved into the earth. Steps hewn crudely into stone. The walls are slick with condensation. Water drips in a continuous, maddening rhythm. Drip, drop, drip. This must lead back up, to the room where Teresa waited, or to another chamber, deeper still. My jaw clenches. I close my eyes, feel the candle's heat on my cheek through the gloom. "Forgive me," I whisper, to Teresa, to Harper's grocery, to myself. I open my eyes and descend. The stairwell is tight. Each step echoes beneath my boots. The air grows warmer and muggy as I drop deeper. My heart beats so loud I swear I hear it in my ears. The burlap flap swings behind me, sealing the stairwell in darkness. At the bottom, I step into a cavernous room lit by threads of molten ore. Glowworms from a crack overhead. Nothing a man should rely on. I grip my lighter, strike the flint. The spark flickers, then ignites the wick. Now I see the full scale. The cavern stretches in all directions. Floor of carved stone patterned with concentric rings. Another ritual space. In the center stands a lone figure under a shaft of phosphorescent mineral light. Back to me. I swallow. The figure wears the oilskin coat, hood down. I recognize the narrow shoulders. Too slender for an officer. Too tall for Teresa. The flicker of candlelight reveals a face I don't expect. A woman, eyes dark-rimmed, face smeared with grime. Her expression holds sorrow deeper than mine. She extends a hand, palm up, and in it lies a tarnished microphone. A police radio handset, the kind we used in the 90s. The cord is frayed, rust rings the connector. She points to it. I step forward, the rings on the floor clicking under my soles. She tilts her head, voice low and distant. "Speak." I raise the handset. The moment my thumb grazes the transmit button, a cascade of whispers crashes through the cavern. Dispatch voices from decades past, calling names. "Officer Roberts, come in. Sergeant Daniels, are you receiving?" Each voice fades into static, overlapping until the air thrums with ghostly urgency. My fingers shake. I try to speak, but the words choke in my throat. The woman watches, eyes glistening. Then she turns, stepping back toward the darkness. Before she disappears, she tosses the handheld radio at my feet. I catch it reflexively. It's still functional. A whisper breaks through the static, my own voice, or a memory of it. "Dispatch 314, need backup. Officer down." The fragmented loop repeats, morphing into something else. "Find me. Finish this." I crouch, pressing the handset to my ear. The static clears for one breath. "Merrick, help me." Her voice, the same that led me here, echoes behind me and I spin. The cavern is empty. Only the rings on the floor and the dripping water remain. The lighter flickers out. Darkness swallows the space. My heart hammers. I realize I stand on the threshold between justice and oblivion, with the direct line to dispatch now dangling in my hand. If I call out, someone might hear me, past, present, or future. But will they understand? Or will my call dissolve into this ancient chorus of static? I rise, gripping the handset and the lighter, candle dead in the gloom. I know one thing, the story isn't over, not until someone listens, not until someone answers. So I hold the handset to my lips and whisper barely audible, "Dispatch. This is Officer James Merrick. I'm below, Harper's Grocery. Please send." The static consumes my words. Silence follows. And then, hello? Which voice answered? I clamp the radio handset to my chest as the cavern's breath falls silent. The word, hello, hangs in the dark, as porous and tentative as smoke. I scour the gloom with my lighter's fading glow, searching for any sign of movement. Nothing. The weight of the handset in my hand shifts, tethering me to this place between stone and memory. I force myself to take a step forward, each footfall echoing around the chamber's rough walls. My ankle protests, pain flaring bright, before receding behind adrenaline's dull roar. I tuck the handset inside my jacket, securing it near my heart. In my other hand, I have the lighter, the sole spark of life in this subterranean tomb. I strike it again. One small flame leaps to life, illuminating the concentric rings carved into the stone floor. They form a labyrinth of intent, an ancient spiral designed to trap or to guide. I stare down at it, wondering which. The lines feel alive, pulsing beneath the flame's flicker, as though engraved not in rock, but in flesh. Beyond the rings, the cavern stretches into blackness so deep it seems to absorb my lighter's glow. Along the walls, I notice faint impressions, handprints, shoe treads, the smeared outlines of paint from flashlights long extinguished. They lead toward a narrow passage, so low it forces me onto hands and knees. I hesitate, pressed between fear and duty. I cannot turn back. I've come too far. I press forward, lighter held high. The crawl space narrows until I must wriggle through on my belly. Each inch is agony, concrete scraping my uniform and skin. My breath comes in short bursts, mind turning over. Every clue I've gathered. The initials HV scratched on the metal box. The logs dated 2011 to 2013. The ritual spirals emblazoned with my name. Not Merrick, but Merrick. An almost miss that feels like a question of identity. Most urgently, Teresa's badge with the number 512 and her admonition, "You didn't check." Over and over, her voice echoes through the tunnels, driving me onward. At last, I emerge beneath a shaft of broken masonry. Moonlight filters through a grate high above, dust motes dancing in its beam. I'm in the base of the grocery stairwell, the one that led to the manager's office. The grass outside whispers as the wind lifts through the void. I push myself upright, pain flaring in my shoulders from the crawl. My lighter guttered and died, and the chamber now stands in gray dawn, not bright, but enough to reveal collapsed ductwork and shattered tiles. Concrete dust drapes the floor like snow. The panel that concealed the crawl space is gone. Only jagged fragments of wood hang loosely from the frame. I step onto the grocery floor again, heart pounding, mind reeling. The front entrance gapes open to the rain-drenched parking lot. In the pale light, I see tire tracks leading away through the gravel. Fresh tracks. I wonder, whose car? Who left this place before dawn? I inch toward the front, the weight of every secret pressing me down. As I pass the broken counter, I notice something I missed before. Behind the register drawer, wedged between broken wood and wires, is a sheet of crumpled paper. I kneel, tug it free. It's a dispatch report dated 3 days ago. It reads, "Unassigned unit responded to survivor report at Harper's Grocery. Witness account incomplete. Officer down. Suspect fled on foot. Incident under review." Below, a scrawled note in the margin, "CHV logs." Follow spiral. My pulse flares. Survivor report? Officer down? That must refer to Teresa's disappearance. But if yes, then who wrote it? And why is this report unofficial, hidden behind a register? I stand, scanning the store. The overturned cart lies where it fell. Cans of soup spill like forgotten offerings. Somewhere behind me, water drips through holes in the ceiling. I follow the tire tracks with my eyes, past the cracked neon sign, beyond the broken grate, toward the road. No headlights, no figure, only the misted outlines of trees lining the county road. I exhale, shaking. I press my hand to my throat, where the handset rests inside my jacket. The voice that answered, was it real? I click the transmit button. "Dispatch, this is Officer James Merrick. I've located..." Static, then a clear voice. "Merrick? You're alive. We read you." "Did you copy my last transmission?" I said. "Get out." The voice crackles like it's coming through layers of stone. My fingers tighten around the handset. "Who is this? Where are you?" I demand. Silence crackles between us. Then a final message. "Trust no one, not even me." And the channel goes dead, leaving only the rushing rain and the restless distance beyond the neon sign. I step outside, the cold rain lashing my face. The dawn sky is bruised purple, scent of wet gravel and pine heavy in the air. I press the handset against my lips one last time. The static murmurs beneath, hints of footsteps, a whisper, "Find me." My throat goes dry. Behind me, the grocery door creaks on its hinges, as though pushed by an unseen hand. I whirl around. The building stands empty and hollow, silent apart from the wind. No sign of Teresa, no figure in the dawn. Only the crumpled dispatch report fluttering on the floor, and the faint carvings of a spiral in the rubble. I slip the handset into my pocket and step away. My gaze lingers on the neon sign, now faintly glowing in its final breath. I know I should call this in, return to base, and bring the State Bureau back down. But I also know the truth hides beneath layers of silence. I look at the road, where tire tracks vanish into mist, and I realize the spiral doesn't lead back. It leads forward, into the unknown. My badge feels heavy at my hip. I lift my head, the rain washing away tears I didn't notice falling. The question buzzes in my mind, sharper than the dripping concrete. Who am I following? I kill the engine before I even reach the gravel turnoff, because the radio crackles in a way that feels too familiar, like a heartbeat thudding through the night. It's 2:04 a.m., and I've been behind this wheel long enough to know every creak of the chassis, every shudder of the tires on wet pavement. The rain eased off an hour ago, but the road is still slick, reflecting those faded yellow lines that vanish in the distance. I set my flashlight on the dash and push open the door, letting the lingering warmth of the heater escape into the damp air. The chill hits me in the chest like a warning. I step onto the shoulder, boots sinking into soft mud, and listen. Nothing but the hiss of dripping water and the muffled whisper of wind through the pines. The address taped in my mind, 223 West Elm, the old Whitaker place, feels wrong, as if I'm about to trespass on someone's memory. I click the flashlight on and walk forward, each beam cutting through mist that seems alive, swirling with hints of movement. The gravel crunches under my boots, louder here than out on the highway, as though the world is eager to announce my arrival. The porch light is out, but I can see the window at the corner of the house glowing dimly. There's something off about the way that light wavers, like a candle in a storm. I come up the steps and notice the front door is unlatched, hanging at an angle that suggests someone left in a hurry, or maybe never meant to come back. My hand rests on the grip of my service pistol, not because I expect violence, but because I've learned that complacency kills more officers than bullets do. I call out, low and calm, "Sheriff's office." "Anyone home?" Silence. The kind that presses against your eardrums and makes your own blood sound like a roar. I push the door the rest of the way open, and the beam of my flashlight reveals a living room frozen in time. Furniture draped in plastic, yellowing wallpaper peeling in jagged strips, a single lamp on a side table, its shade crooked. A thin layer of dust coats everything except the lamp, which looks as if someone polished it yesterday. I step inside, the floorboards creaking, and regret the decision for a fraction of a second, but only just. In the hallway, I hear it. A soft scrape, like someone dragging their foot across the wood. I halt, breath catching, hand tightening on the pistol slide to release the safety. The sound comes again, quieter now, almost hesitant. I follow it down the narrow corridor, past open doorways that lead to empty bedrooms, to the kitchen at the back. The glow there is brighter, flooding the room in a sickly yellow that flickers as though the bulb is dying. The kitchen is immaculate in contrast to the rest of the house. White cabinets with chipped handles. A linoleum floor that reflects the light like a mirror. On the far side, at the sink, stands a man. He's hunched over, hands pressed to the porcelain as if bracing himself. His gray hoodie is soaked, probably from the rain or maybe sweat, and dark stains spread across the shoulders. Jeans, heavy with mud, cling to his legs. He doesn't notice me at first, absorbed in whatever's in that sink. I clear my throat. "Sir?" I say. My voice sounds foreign in my own ears, rough with suspicion. He flinches, head jerking up. His eyes are huge, pupils dilated so wide that the irises look like shadows. They're unfocused, darting past me. His skin is pale, almost translucent. Whatever life he had seems drained, as though someone squeezed it out. He raises his head slowly, and the hood falls back, revealing dark hair plastered to his forehead. I didn't know where else to go," he says, voice hollow. He steps back from the sink, and the beam of my flashlight lands on the bruises curving around his ribs, grayish purple arcs that fade toward his spine. Old wounds, but swollen enough to tell me they hurt. When he tries to breathe deeply, his chest trembles. "Easy," I say. "I'm Sheriff Dalton. You're safe now. Can you tell me what happened?" I lower the flashlight, switching to my TLR-1 for a steadier beam, hoping to catch nuance in his expression. But he just stares, lips parted, as if he's trying to remember something essential. "I can't remember." He runs a shaky hand through his hair. "Why am I here? What's this place?" His voice cracks, revealing a desperation that isn't feigned. He glances toward the window, then back at me, like he's choosing between escape and confession. I move closer, holstering my pistol. Protocol tells me to call for backup, to secure the scene, to get his statement. But I see something deeper in him, fear so raw it's almost tactile. "Let's sit," I say, nodding to the table. When he eases into the wooden chair, I pull one out opposite him. I watch the beam of light reflect off his eyes, searching for recognition. He looks around, as if the words themselves are foreign. I'm Miles," he finally says. That's it. No last name. Just Miles. He taps the table's surface with a trembling finger, sending an echo through the room. 3 faint rings carved into the wood. I didn't see them when I came in. They're subtle, as if someone traced them with a dull blade. I angle my hands under the table to get a better look, but he twists away, as though embarrassed. "Did you do that?" I ask, voice gentle. He shakes his head, but the trail of his fingertips still gleams in the flashlight's beam. "Number, I swear, I didn't." His eyes flick to the door, then down at his hands. I don't know how I got here. I remember leaving my apartment in Texarkana. I was driving, then nothing, until this farmhouse. He swallows. I thought I'd gone mad. My training kicks in. I ask about his route, his vehicle, any stops he might have made. He draws a blank. Phone logs, credit card charges, none of it shows the last 24 hours. His radio's dead battery. His cell phone's screen shattered, useless. He presses a fist to his mouth, head bowed. I reach across and place a hand on his shoulder, just enough to steady him. "We'll figure this out," I promise. I grab my radio and call it in. 1 soul found, disoriented, no immediate threat. Backup en route. But as I stand, I smell something faint, like damp wool and something sweeter, blood warmed in the rain. My gaze drifts around the kitchen, cabinets, floor, sink. I scan for red stains, anything that explains those bruises. Nothing. My radio crackles with static, then, so faint I think I imagined it, a voice. "Help me." The syllable stretches out, scattering into nothing. I snap my head toward the door, heart hammering. Miles looks up, eyes narrowing. "You hear that?" I whisper. He tilts his head, listening. Maybe? I step to the hallway, motioning for him to stay. The beam of my flashlight follows me, illuminating the sagging plaster and that same faded wallpaper. I pause at the threshold, finger on the door frame. "Something's not right," I murmur. And then I hear it again, clearer this time. A soft scrape, like fingernails against wood, coming from the living room. Not the hallway, behind me, out of sight. I spin, light slicing into shadows, heart pounding so hard I can feel it in my throat. The living room looks empty. Furniture still under sheets. A thin blanket of dust undisturbed except for 1 chair, pulled out at an angle and facing the hallway. I realize I've been standing with my back to it, and now, somehow, I'm not sure I want to turn around. My hand hovers on the switch before I decide. I can't leave it off, so I click it, and the beam lances into the living room. The air there feels colder, as if the house itself is breathing. The covered furniture stands like silent sentinels. I step forward, boots soft on the threadbare carpet, and focus on the chair. It's empty, except the cushion is pushed to one side as if someone slid off in a hurry. The floor around it is scuffed, though I don't see footprints. I reach out, grip the back of the chair, and turn it slowly. There's nothing but dust. The sheet draped over the sofa shifts, revealing the armrest, and a strip of fabric peels away, showing frayed upholstery. My radio crackles. "Got you, Sheriff," Deputy Lawson's voice says, nearly drowned in static. "What's your status?" I swallow, trying to steady my voice. Room's clear, no sign of forced entry besides the broken screen door. 1 male, white, disoriented. He's upstairs in the bedroom. Copy, ETA 2 minutes. I leave the living room without another sound and jog back to the kitchen. Miles is sitting straighter, hands gripping the edge of the table like he's about to bolt. He meets my eyes. "What is it?" he whispers. I thought I saw someone in there." I point to the living room doorway. Chair was moved, felt like someone was watching. I rub my forehead, but no one's here. His lips tremble. "I swear I didn't come through there." He glances down at the rings on the table again. Fresh, deep grooves. Why are they still here? Before I can answer, the headlights of Lawson's cruiser sweep through the windows, casting long shadows. I step outside to meet him, leaving Miles in the muted glow. Lawson's soaked through, like he walked through the storm instead of drove. He checks the door lock and nods. Okay to bring him out? Yeah, I say. Let him catch his breath. We re-enter. I crouch beside Miles. You okay to get up? He nods, though his face is pale. I place a steadying hand on his arm. He rises, slower than a man his age should, and I lead him out to the front porch. Lawson follows with his flashlight and cuffs at the ready. We guide Miles up the steps. He pauses at the threshold and looks back at the kitchen window as though expecting someone to appear. Once we're both on solid ground, I murmur, "Go, wait in the car." He stretches forward, wanting to hug himself, and obeys. When he's seated, after Lawson locks the door behind him, I step back and survey the house. Rain taps against the porch roof in staccato beats, and the pine trees sway overhead. Everything feels exaggerated, like I'm trapped in someone else's nightmare. Lawson shines his light at the roofline, the gutters. Any footprints around back? I shine mine toward the rear. Muddy ground, a couple of boot tracks heading away from the house into the field behind. They're fresh, deep in the loosened earth. Looks like our guy headed that way. He swallows. Or someone else. The idea hangs between us, heavier than the night air. We exchange a glance that says, neither of us wants to follow, yet one always does. Let's move, I say. We drop off the porch, flashlights carving twin beams through the mist. The tracks lead to the tree line, dense tree trunks slick with rain, branches interlaced like skeletal fingers. I feel the weight of my flashlight, the cold metal of my service pistol at my hip, and the distant hum of the town fading behind us. Each step into the underbrush sets off tiny echoes. The air smells of wet earth and rotting leaves. I hesitate at the edge of the woods. Lawson dims his beam, stepping closer. You want me to go first? He asks, voice low. I shake my head. We stay together. Fear doesn't obey rank. I force myself into the trees, the beam wobbling over roots and low limbs. Every snapped twig is amplified. Every rustle sends adrenaline rushing through my veins. I follow the tracks, one boot in front of the other, scanning each shadow. The path slopes downward into a shallow gully that funnels water after rainstorms. At the bottom, the tracks end abruptly, almost like someone vanished into thin air. I crouch, shining the light around the hollow. It's empty, no footprints beyond, no signs of passage. Just a scattering of pine needles and a broken section of fence post embedded in the mud. Next to it, half buried, I find a scrap of fabric, dark blue, torn. I recall Miles's hoodie, gray. This is different. But there's a hint of dampness on the fibers and a faint leather scent that reminds me of a car interior. I bag it on the spot. He kneels beside me, rubbing his hands together. What do you think? He asks, voice tight. I stare at the torn fabric. I think someone came through here, but not the man upstairs. I stand, feeling the muscles in my calves protest. Let's circle the house, see if there's another entrance. I head back the way we came, Lawson at my elbow. When we return to the porch, I pause again, staring at the unlit window. There's something about that entry point, too quiet. I grip the banister and climb back inside. The air's colder than before. The plastic-draped furniture looks more oppressive. I sweep the living room, then the hallway, then the kitchen, both of us methodical in our search. No doors ajar, no windows cracked, no hidden panels. Just the carved rings in the table and the lamp that still flickers despite being unplugged. I rub my temples. This doesn't make sense. My breath clouds in the frigid air. Lawson nods, shining his light at the backside of the table. Whatever he went through, he chose to come here. He swishes the beam over the cabinet doors. Why? I step back and lean against the wall, pressing my forehead to the cool plaster. Suddenly, the smell hits me again, iron and something acrid. I spin, light sweeping past, and see it. A brownish streak on the linoleum floor, trailing from under the table to the sink. I drop to my knees, chest tightening, and follow it with my hand. Sticky, dried, not a heavy smear, but unmistakable. I jam my light under the table. "Lawson," I say, voice harsh. "Look at this." He kneels beside me. I scrape a bit off with my gloved finger. It flakes, darkened, aged. Blood, likely from those bruises. He swallows hard. So, someone bled here. I nod, standing so fast my head spins, and cleaned up the rest. I shine the light up the leg of the table. Fresh scratch marks, short and deliberate, as if someone searched for a knife or key and missed. I step back, brain racing. Miles in the kitchen, alone, no one else in the house, yet evidence of a struggle. Evidence someone else was here, could have returned after he blacked out. Could be hiding still. I grab my radio. "Dispatch, this is Sheriff Dalton. Change of status. Possible second party at the Whitaker property. I need CSI and backup, code 3. Also, possible blood evidence. Advise nearest unit for perimeter." Static answers. "Copy all." I end the call and turn to Lawson. "Get Miles out of here. Don't let anyone else in until CSI clears it. I'll check the upstairs one more time." He nods, grabbing his keys to the patrol car. I hear him open the front door, guide Miles out. A muffled exchange. Then the porch light clicks on outside. I take the hall to the stairwell. Each step groans, telling me it hasn't borne weight like this in years. At the top, the hallway stretches, odd angles illuminated by my flashlight. The bedroom at the end, where I left Miles, is closed. I approach, raise my hand to knock, but the door is ajar. I freeze. The beam catches a glimpse of the mattress, its cover torn, springs exposed. A shoe presses into the wood floor, not Miles's, too big. The window curtain sways, though the pane is shut. My skin prickles. I step inside, heart pounding like it might burst free. The closet door is shut. My flashlight flickers. I draw my pistol, aim at the door. It's like standing at the edge of a void. I count to 3, 2001, 2002, then yank it open, empty. Clothes hang untouched, no one inside. But the back wall has writing, smeared in blood. 3 circles and a line, identical to the carving downstairs. The letters are jagged, H-E-L-P, and beneath it, scrawled smaller, a name, Miles. My flashlight beam trembles. The word pulses on the wall. I step back, mouth dry. How did this get here? Who carved it? Why his name? I turn, gripping my pistol, to face the door. Silence presses in. Outside, the porch light flickers, and I swear I hear a distant drip, like water leaking or blood. But there's no sink up here, no pipes, just the empty walls and that message, smeared in faded red. I raise the flashlight higher, trying to clear the blur in my vision. The writing seems to shift, as though alive. My radio crackles again, frantic. "Sheriff, CSI is en route, but we've got multiple units reported footprints circling the property. We need you outside, now." I don't move, feet glued to the floor. I stare at the word help and the name. The room spins and I realize the only person who could carve that was already inside when I thought I was alone. My radio sputters. "We're also picking up a voice on your channel. Can't make it out, but it's repeating something." I'd be relieved if it weren't for the fact that I am that voice. I'd recorded it on the drive out, and it wasn't Miles speaking, it was me. A single word, help. I lower my pistol, breath ragged. The word help glares back as if mocking me. My hand drops to the doorknob, and I realize there's only one person left who can tell me why I carved it here. I step forward, and the floor creaks underfoot. As I reach the message, the door slams behind me, hard enough to rattle the frame. I spin, heart in my throat. Silence again, but for the pounding of my pulse. Then I see, in the mirror on the far wall, another set of eyes staring back. Mine. Only these eyes are wide, hollow. I know that face, and I know I'm already too late to save myself. I force my shaking hand off the doorknob and press my back against the wall, staring at that reflection in the mirror. The eyes in the glass aren't my own, or rather they are, but they're empty, carved of fear and confusion. For a heartbeat, I wonder if I've gone mad, if this place has finally broken me. Then the floor beneath me creaks again, and I realize the mirror image moved a fraction of a second after I did. It's not a trick of the light. There's someone else in this room, someone wearing my face. I swallow and find my voice. Who's there? It comes out as a whisper, brittle and small. Silence answers, thick as fog. Slowly, I turn toward the closet. The door is still shut. My pistol drifts lower in my hand, but I can't look away from that mirror image. My eyes, dilated in panic, my lips pulled taut. My heartbeat pulses in my ears. I take a breath because I have to know, and I flip off the safety. Show yourself. The words feel hollow. There's nothing but the stale air. I step forward, flashlight beam bouncing on the closet door. I raise the pistol. My grip is unsteady, finger brushing the trigger guard. I yank the door open. Empty, except for my jacket hanging neatly. The room smells of old fabric and damp wood. My jacket, mud-spattered, the lining torn, is exactly the one I've been wearing since I found Miles. It hangs there, like a trophy. My eyes flick to the floor, where more of that red-brown smear dots the plank near the doorway. But no one else is here. No footsteps, no hiding places, just the reflection in the mirror. I lower my pistol, feeling suddenly hollow. I wipe my sweaty palms on my pant legs and step around the bed. The mattress is still ruined, springs showing. I kneel and inspect deeper into the closet's corner. Pinned to the wall is a Polaroid, taped by its top edge. I lean closer, breathing shallow. It's a snapshot of the kitchen. The lamp lit, the plastic drapes over the sofa, and there, me, standing in the doorway, flashlight in one hand, other hand on my holstered pistol. My face drawn, eyes wild. I tap the photo. The sticky tape peels a little, but I don't touch it further. I snap off a picture with my phone for evidence. My pocket vibrates. A text from dispatch. CSI inbound, 15 minutes. Updates? I glance at the mirror again. The reflection has shifted. Now the chair in the corner is turned slightly away. The drape on the sofa shifted. It's minor, but it wasn't like that 5 seconds ago. I stand, back pressed to the wall, and raise my radio. Dalton, I say, voice low. I need you to slow your team down. Do not go upstairs until I clear this room again. Understood? Copy, Sheriff, comes Lawson's voice. Then static. No mention of the footprints or the fabric. Part of me is relieved he doesn't know everything. Another part is furious that I have to face this alone. I switch off the radio and take a deliberate breath. I need to rationalize. There must be a logical explanation. Some perpetrator hiding here, orchestrating every unsettling moment to unnerve me. Miles upstairs, a phantom dragging a chair, messages smeared in blood, a Polaroid in my closet. It's someone playing a sick game. I step toward the mirror, pistol raised. My reflection is as terrified as I am. I squeeze the trigger guard. "If you're in here," I whisper, "come out now." Silence. The air grows colder. My breath puffs in front of my face. I lower the pistol and stomp to the window, yanking aside the threadbare curtain. Darkness sprawls outside. No headlights pass by. For a moment, I think I see a shape gliding past the glass, but when I blink, it's gone. Just a trick, I tell myself, just wearing on me. I turn back to the room and notice the closet Polaroid had been replaced. Now, another photo is taped beneath it. I step closer. This one shows the bedroom hallway. The door ajar, the floor smeared, and there, curled on the bed in the corner, Miles, pale and gaunt, asleep or unconscious. His hoodie pulled over his head, concealing his face. But someone circled him in red ink, like prey marked on a map. My stomach twists. Whoever this is isn't just targeting me, they're watching Miles, too. They've been here while I was with him. Didn't see it, didn't hear it. They know how I think, how I react. I rip the photo down, ignoring the tearing of paper, and stuff it in my jacket pocket. My radio crackles to life. "Sheriff? We've got a problem." Lawson's voice is tense. "Unit at the back gate reports your cruiser has its windows rolled down, engine running. No sign of you or the suspect." I glance at my pistol and then at the closet door. "I'm on my way out," I say, trying for firmness. I click the safety off again, then back on. The ritual steadies me. I step to the door and fling it open. Downstairs is deathly quiet. No footsteps on the stairs, no voices, nothing but the muffled drip from somewhere behind the walls. I move with the pistol in one hand, flashlight in the other, heading for the front door. The floorboards groan under my weight, announcing my departure. I reach the bottom step. Miles is gone. The front door is open, wide, allowing the night air to sweep in. My cruiser's beam lies cold on the driveway. The engine is indeed still running. I can see footprints in the mud, multiple sets leading toward the car, and another set beyond, heading back toward the woods. I slip outside, boots sinking in mud, and follow the prints. They vanish by the trunk of my cruiser. The back door is ajar. I click off the safety and peer inside. Seats drenched, flood of dripping water. In the passenger seat, Miles' body is slumped, hoodie soaked, jeans torn at the knees. He's alive, barely. I kneel and shake him. "Miles, hey, wake up!" His eyelids flutter. A high-pitched whimper escapes. He gasps, eyes wild and unfocused. "Sheriff, Sheriff!" he croaks. "It's here!" "Who's here?" I ask, voice urgent. He squeezes my arm and points past the rear window. I turn just in time to see a shape step from the tree line. Tall, silent, face hidden by shadows and a dark hood. It tilts its head as if studying us. My pistol comes up. "Stop!" I say. No response but the hiss of gravel under its boots as it takes a step closer. The hood moves aside enough for me to glimpse lips curved in a snarl. Then it raises an arm, and I see the blade glint in the headlights. "Miles," I hiss. "Move!" I drag him out into the open, instinct overriding strategy. He collapses and I catch him. The figure advances 3 paces, each footfall measured, deliberate. I shout, "Stop! Sheriff's office!" The figure pauses, tilts its head. The blade drips something dark, fresh. I see the droplets catch the light before falling. Without warning, it turns and vanishes into the woods, as silently as it came. I slide to the ground, clutch Miles to my chest. His heartbeat is a weak flutter. I strain my ears toward the trees, waiting for it to return. But there's only the distant hum of my engine and the heavy patter of my own pulse. I glance back at the open door of the house, at the dark windows where I once stood inside, thinking I was alone. Now I know I never was. And as I sit in the mud, holding a man I swore I would protect, I realize the world has shifted beneath my feet. This isn't about a missing person or a haunted farmhouse. It's about a predator who knows how to hide in the spaces between my instincts, who leaves me questions bleeding into every corner of my mind. I reach for my radio. Dispatch, code 3. Multiple parties armed and dangerous. Request air support. My voice cracks on the last word. No answer. The line is dead. I look back toward the woods, toward where it disappeared. The trees sway in the moonlight, silent sentinels again. And in their shadows, I know it's waiting for me to come back inside and finish what it started. I squeeze Miles's shoulder. "Stay with me," I whisper. He stirs, eyes flicking open. But before he can speak, a distant rustle answers him, a sound both alive and impossible. It emerges from the darkness behind me. I turn, heartbeat in my throat, and the night hushes, as if holding its breath. Then it begins again. A soft, deliberate scrape right behind my ear. I press my back against the cold metal of the patrol car, the rain blurring the emergency lights into red and blue smears. Miles is curled against me, his breathing shallow, every inhale rattled by panic. I sweep the handgun into the tree line, fingers trembling on the slide release. The blade bearer vanished like a specter, but I know it's out there, watching. My radio remains dead, no backup, no reassurance. The world feels stripped to its barest bone, stripped of rules and promises. I ease Miles to the ground, pulling off my jacket and wrapping it around him. The man shivers, teeth chattering. His skin is clammy and each tremor jolts me with guilt. This was supposed to be a simple welfare check. Instead, he's become prey. I force my voice steady. "Miles, you need to stay awake. Look at me." He blinks, tears mingling with raindrops on his lashes. Who was that?" he whispers. "I don't know," I admit, leaning close so only he can hear. But they're not done. I scan the woods. The only answer is the ceaseless hiss of rain through leaves and the distant highway hum. Then I hear it again, that scrape, slow, deliberate, coming from the undergrowth 30 feet away. My heart pounds so violently I feel it in my teeth. Whatever it is, it's emerging. I stand, yanking Miles gently to his feet. He nearly collapses, so I grip his arm. "Come on." He nods, fear glazed in his eyes. We sprint toward the patrol car, tires spinning, mud spraying. I fling the passenger door open and shove him inside. He drops onto the seat, gripping the dashboard, eyes wide. I climb in, slam the door, and hit the siren. Its wail cuts through the night, a warning and a prayer. I shift into drive and gun the engine, fishtailing out of the mud onto the gravel. As I tear down the driveway, I catch movement in the corner of my eye. It stands at the tree-line edge, tall, hooded, motionless. The beam from my headlights illuminates its shape for a heartbeat. It raises the blade. It's too big, too deliberate, and it glints like a promise of more terror. Then it's gone into the trees. Miles gasps. "Why won't it leave us alone?" he says, voice raw. His question trails into static as the car picks up speed. I roar onto Highway 49, tires spitting gravel. The wipers beat a frantic rhythm across the windshield. I punch the dash mic. "Dispatch, this is Dalton. In pursuit of armed suspect, northbound on 49, request immediate assistance." Silence. My stomach roils. Whatever else is broken in this night, the lifeline is severed. I glance at Miles. He's slumped against the door, eyes half closed. Adrenaline surges. If we stop, We die. I floor the pedal, the engine roars, and the dark ribbon of road stretches ahead. Rain hammers the roof. The headlights carve out ribbons in the downpour. Flashing street signs and distant billboards blur. I know this road. This stretch of blacktop cuts through dense forest, with no houses, no cell towers. If the suspect wants to corner us, here's where it happens. I catch a glimpse in the side mirror. A figure skirting the tree line, moving parallel to the road, running. It's inhumanly fast, covering ground without breaking stride. I slam on the brakes, tire screech shredding the night. The patrol car skids, then halts. Miles nearly slides off his seat. That's them, I breathe. The figure stands at the tree line, only 10 yards away. It tilts its head, probing, then drops low and darts into the woods. I stare until it vanishes. My fingers drip with sweat as I grip the wheel. "Don't worry," I say to Miles, voice tight. "Help's coming." I catch my reflection in the rearview mirror. My own eyes look hollow. I lift the mic again. "Dispatch, Sheriff Dalton, do you read?" But only static answers. Behind us, the endless thump of running feet in the woods grows closer, almost synchronized with my heartbeat. I switch into reverse, but a tree looms too near. Miles's eyes fill with terror as I spin the wheel to pivot. The headlights catch something else. Tire tracks branching off into a hidden logging road. "That way," I mutter, glancing at the muddy path. The logging road looks narrow, treacherous when wet, but the woods beyond are wide. If we can lose our tail there... I shift into drive again and turn off onto the logging road. The narrow dirt track rises and falls, carving through pines dripping with rain. I weave, chasing a phantom, tires plowing through sludge. The world narrows to the beam of my headlights and the tunnel of trees. Then the beam catches a glint. A discarded flashlight broken in half, lying in the center of the road. I swerve around it. Miles sits frozen. "Why is it doing this?" he whispers. "I don't know," I confess, "but I'm going to find out." I push the pedal again. Suddenly, the trees part, and the logging road opens onto a clearing I don't recognize. A wide field of knee-high grass, shadows rippling with the wind. In the center is a rusted pickup truck, its cab door wide open, engine off. The blaze of headlights illuminates graffiti on the side. That same 3 circles connected by a line, painted in deep crimson. My chest tightens. The field is a dead end. No far side road, no exit. The truck sits alone, silent. I hit the brakes, and the car skids to a halt, mud kicking up behind us. My heart drums in my ears as I kill the engine. I kill the headlights, plunging us into darkness. The only light is from the cell tower blinking in the distance, its red eye a mockery of rescue. I turn to Miles. "Stay here," I whisper. "Lock the doors." He fumbles, hands shaking, clicks the locks. The police radio mic lights up for a second, then dies again. We're on our own. I step out, pistol drawn, and approach the pickup. The grass presses against my boots, soaking through. The graffiti stares at me, accusatory. I touch the door. It swings forward with a groan. Inside, the seat is damp and torn. Equipment boxes lie open, contents spilled. A liver-spotted cowboy hat rests on the dashboard, brim cracked. A name scratched under the hat. W. Carter. I swallow. Miles Carter's last name. Walker Carter, a local logger who vanished 5 years ago on a shift change. No body found, no trace. They assumed he wandered off. My flashlight beam flickers and I catch movement. Just beyond the edge of the light, something shifts. A tall figure stands at the tree line, motionless. It lifts its arm, holding what looks like a spare tire iron. Then it steps forward into the clearing, into the dim halo of my beam. Its face is hidden by the shadow of a hood, but its stance is deliberate, almost ceremonial. I raise the pistol. "Show yourself." My voice cracks across the field. The figure slows, walking toward me with measured gait. Every step crunches through dead grass, echoing in the silence like a drum. When it's 10 paces away, I train the light up the hood and catch a glint of pale skin. But no mask, just flesh. Fingers wrap tight around the iron, knuckles white. I swallow. He stops. I catch a flicker in his posture, like he's offering a challenge. He lifts the iron chest high and tilts his head as if listening. Then, without preamble, he lets out a low hum, a single note, pure and resonant, vibrating the air. My ears ring. The note cuts through the raindrops. The trees behind him seem to lean in. I swallow, finger tightening on the trigger. Miles steps out of the car, voice trembling. "Sheriff, he's humming." I glance back at him. No, not Miles's face. Something about the posture, the tilt of the head, feels wrong. I swing the light back to the figure. It stands there, humming, as if summoning something. The red graffiti circles pulse in the beam, then the humming stops. The figure raises the iron above his head, and in the same motion hurls it at me. I dive to the side. The iron whistles past, embedding in the car door. My pistol discharges, a single shot that echoes like thunder. The figure staggers as the bullet hits, but doesn't fall. Instead, he lifts a hand to his shoulder where blood seeps through the fabric. He tilts his head, cocked with confusion, as if surprised to be hit. Then his eyes meet mine. Eyes filled with pain, but also something ancient, as if forgiveness and vengeance sit side by side. I raise the flashlight, trained on his face. He lifts his free hand and points past me, toward the woods. I turn to look, just in time to see 100 glowing points of light flickering among the pines. Not headlights. These are the lanterns of the lost. Carter's crew, the vanished campers, the unnumbered voices calling for help. They stand in silent rows, eyes empty, bodies draped in mud and rain. I spin back to the logger in the clearing, but he's gone. Only the night remains wide and silent. My radio crackles on low. "Sheriff, you copy?" My knees buckle. I stare at the field, at the ghosts stepping forward, reaching out with hollow hands. "This is Dalton," I whisper. "I read you." My voice is swallowed by the night as the ghosts move toward me, and then the last thing I know is that I'm not breathing the same air, and the field falls silent once more, save for the last echo of a distant hum and the unanswered question. Who am I protecting when I can't save the ones who've already disappeared? The rain has eased to a fine mist, but I can still feel it, seeping through my uniform and chilling me to the bone. I sit slumped on the hood of the cruiser, Miles curled against my side, eyes half closed in exhaustion. The ghosts stand in the field beyond the pickup, dozens of pale figures, each one a silent accusation. I catch one staring directly at me, a child's face drowned in rain streaks, eyes empty and unblinking. I flinch, wrench my gaze away, and whisper, "What do you want from us?" Miles shifts, groaning softly. His voice is so faint I almost miss it. They won't let me go." He presses a hand to his chest, his breathing catching in sobs. Every time I close my eyes, I hear them whispering. I swallow, voice rough. "Stay with me, Miles. Stay here." I scan the tree line again. No sign of the hooded figure or any living person. Only the field, the ghosts, and the shattered pickup. I lean forward, resting elbows on my knees, and pull out my notebook. Old habit I can't shake. I scribble, "Field at Logging Road. Unattended pickup, graffiti symbol, ghostly witnesses. Subject Miles C. Present, disoriented." I look up and realize I'm treating this like a routine report, but nothing about tonight was routine. Not the carved rings on a kitchen table, not the blood-scrawled help in a bedroom, not the logger's Polaroid in my closet, and certainly not these spectral figures. I fling the notebook closed and stand. I'm tired. Every muscle aches, every thought bleeds into the next, but there's no time to rest. I help Miles to his feet. He sways, unstable. I wrap my arm around his shoulders. We need to get back to town, I say. Find somewhere safe. Get you medical attention. He nods and leans on me. Together, we limp toward the patrol car. The wipers squeal as I open the door. I ease Miles inside, then climb in and kill the engine. The interior is heavy with the smell of damp leather and fear. I pull out my phone. No signal. I try the radio, still dead. I slump back, realizing I have no way to call for help. Nothing but the mist and the ghosts outside. I grip the steering wheel. When I look through the windshield, the ghosts are gone. No lanterns, no figures, just the field swallowed by darkness. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding, but the emptiness feels more unsettling than their presence. At least when they were there, I understood what they wanted, someone to hear them. Now they're gone, and I'm alone again with nothing but questions. I pull onto the logging road. The pickup's graffiti fades in the rear view as I turn onto the main highway. The road is deserted. Streetlights end abruptly at the county line. My headlights slice through the mist, illuminating stretches of blacktop and then nothing. Every mile marker passes like a countdown. Miles is hunched over, head resting on the passenger window, eyes closed. I reach across and squeeze his hand. He flinches awake, pain and confusion in his eyes. "Are you okay?" I ask. He breathes shallow. I think so." He glances at me, but I can still hear them. His voice cracks. My chest tightens. I nod. "Me too." I glance at the dashboard. My reflection flickers in the glass. The same hollow eyes stare back. I turn away, focus on the road. There's supposed to be a diner in Carlton 5 miles ahead. We can hole up there until morning. Get coffee, find a phone, maybe call CPT-01 for backup. But as I drive, the radio crackles. Just a split second, static that forms words. "Help. Me." My hand leaps to the dial, but the voice vanishes. Miles jerks, looking around. They're in the radio. I force myself to keep driving. Maybe it's just interference. Lies, but I need him calm. I slow to 60, pass mile marker 12, then 13. That number sticks. 13. Bad omen, I think. A pair of headlights appears behind us, low beam. Relief floods me. Finally, someone responding. The headlights stay right on our tail, neither passing nor falling back. At first, I think it's a patrol unit. Then doubt creeps in. No flashing lights. I glance in the mirror. A dark sedan. Tinted windows, no markings. It follows our every curve. My pulse spikes. I tap the horn. The lights dim for a moment, then flare again. Whoever is in that car is watching. I floor the gas, tires whining, but the sedan matches my speed. Miles sits forward, panic flaring. What is that? I don't know, I admit, but we're not letting it pass. We race through the last cluster of trees before Carlton. The diner's neon sign flickers. Open. I turn in, wheels spitting gravel. The sedan skids behind me, too close, too fast, and its driver slams on the brakes. Diesel exhaust billows between us. I jump out, heart hammering, and pull Miles after me. Inside, the diner is empty. Booths lined in vinyl, the counter polished to a dull shine, the coffee machine hissing steam. No staff. The door swings closed behind us with a gust of wind. I lock it and press my back to the counter. Miles leans against me, shaking. I grab the counter phone. Dead. I check every booth phone. Dead. My pistol seems meaningless here, but I keep it drawn anyway. The diner's hush presses in, the ceiling fans stirring the stale air. The neon open flickers, casting blood-red reflections on the floor. Then the windows flash. Bright white, like headlights bursting through the glass. A silhouette passes by, a tall figure, hooded again, sliding along the windows. I raise the pistol. "Get down!" I hiss, pulling Miles behind a booth. The lights die. Darkness swallows us. Then a tap, tap, tap on the diner roof. Rhythm like a heartbeat. I glance at the ceiling. No vents, no attic hatch, just a low, flat roof. The tapping follows us, from front to middle to back, then stops. Silence, deeper than before. I inch forward, pistol leading, flashlight in the other. Miles crawls beside me. We reach the front window. I press my eye to the glass, nothing but mist. Then I spot it on the roof, that logger's iron, wedged on the edge like a warning. I step back as it slides off in a slow arc, drops, clink, on the hood of a car outside. My phone buzzes in my pocket. I rip it out. Signal bars, 1, I call dispatch. Dial tone, then dead air. I hang up. I slide off the gun slide, checking the magazine. 6 rounds, 6 bullets against whoever this is. 6 bullets for every life they've stolen, or more. I turn to Miles, voice soft. "We're getting out of here." I check the diner door. No locks beyond the latch. I motion to a back exit by the kitchen. He nods, tears in his eyes, and I lead him there. As we creep toward the kitchen door, the diner lights flicker, once, twice, then blaze bright, revealing the counter lined with newspapers. I glance. Front page of the Carlton Gazette, date May 3rd, 2025. Headline, "Witness reports haunting on Elm Street farmhouse." Photo, me, in uniform, flashlight in hand. My name in the caption. I freeze. Miles whispers, "How did they get that?" Before I can answer, the door rattles. A voice, calm, male, calls, "Sheriff Dalton." We know you're in there. No sirens, no radio, just that voice, gentle, precise. My finger hovers on the trigger. I lean closer to Miles. "Stay low," I whisper. The rattling stops. Silence. My heart pounds so loud I worry it will give us away. I grip Miles's arm. My ear picks up a soft whisper, too low to hear words, coming from the ceiling speakers. The diner's old sound system crackles to life, playing a lullaby. Slow, off-pitch. I press my back against the wall, trembling. The lullaby warbles, the lights dim, the mist outside swirls. And then the question lodges in my mind, sharp as glass. If they can write my name in blood, appear as ghosts, animate a lullaby on ancient speakers, and command the silence of every phone line, what leverage do I have left? I glance at Miles, whose face is pale but resolute. I may answer back with steel and bullets, but I've spent my life believing in procedure, backup, jurisdiction. None applies here. I look at the kitchen door, then at the bloody symbol scrawled on the wall behind the counter. Fresh paint, 3 circles, 1 line. I take a breath and step forward, gun at the ready, because there's only one way to find out what they want, and I'm already in deeper than I ever intended. And the diner hums its lullaby, waiting for my next move. The lullaby warbles on, each off-key note vibrating through the stale din of the empty diner. I stand in the threshold of the kitchen doorway, pistol raised, every fiber of me screaming that this is a trap too perfect to be coincidence. Miles is pressed behind me, eyes wide from the booth, trembling so hard I can see every tremor in his shoulders. His breath puffs in the frigid air the old ventilation system still churns out. I swallow, grip the pistol tighter, and step forward, toward the sound, toward the door that rattled with that calm voice that called me by name. Who are you? I demand, voice low and steady, despite the adrenaline pooling in my limbs. No answer comes, only the lullaby, its melody twisted and eerie as if someone rewrote the notes mid-song. I pad across the linoleum floor, boots muted in the gloom, and reach the counter. The newspapers are still laid out. Carlton Gazette, front-page story blaring about Elm Street farmhouse, my photo, my name. The headline changes before my eyes. Sheriff Dalton becomes suspect in string of fatalities. My heart hammers. How? Why? I lean over and grab a copy, fingers trembling, and the typeface shifts again under my gaze. Dalton missing after last seen inside Whittaker property. The print dissolves into illegibility, then reforms into, "You left me behind." My breath fogs the paper. I drop it, pistol sweeping back to the kitchen door. Miles stumbles out from the booth behind me, voice barely audible. "Sheriff, they know everything about us." He points to the newspapers strewn everywhere, to the coffee machine still hissing like a wounded beast. "We can't hide." I lower my voice. "We're not hiding, we're confronting." I step around the counter, dragging him with me. Each step toward that kitchen door chokes me, but I push through, the need to end this night propelling me forward. The door handle is cold. I yank it open. Beyond is a narrow hallway bathed in flickering fluorescent light, scorched in patches where the bulbs sputter. The sound of the lullaby is louder here, emanating from ceiling-mounted speakers I didn't notice before. The walls are lined with framed photographs of the diner's past, faded family portraits, smiling children at birthday parties, local men and women gathering over coffee. All are scratched out, red lines slashing across their faces. In the center of each frame, the same three-circle symbol, painted in thick swirls of crimson. I follow the hallway, Miles clutching my arm. The speakers line the ceiling, 5 of them, spaced at regular intervals, playing that warped lullaby. The tiles under our boots are cracked, some missing, revealing dark voids beneath. The air reeks of mildew and old grease. Every instinct tells me to turn back, to flee with Miles into the night. But I can't. Not after everything we've faced. At the end of the hallway is another door, unmarked, metallic, heavy. It bears the battered sign, "Staff Only." Beneath it, smeared so badly, half the letters are gone, the word, "Help." I raise my pistol, finger tensing on the trigger, and push the door open. Inside is the basement staircase, steel treads descending into darkness. The mist from above seeps down the steps, curling around my ankles like cold fingers. I shine my light down. The walls are concrete, pocked with age. The speaker above crackles, then cuts out, plunging the hall into silence that feels ancient and waiting. I take the first step, then another, counting softly. 1, 2. Miles follows, head bowed, sobbing quietly. By the 5th step, the beam reveals scrawled messages on the wall. Names: Miles Carter, Robert Dalton, Walker Carter, written in what looks and smells like blood. The scrawl is shaky, as if written by trembling hands. I swallow bile. At the bottom, the basement opens into a cavernous room, lit by a single bare bulb that swings on a frayed cord. The floor is splintered wood, scattered with overturned chairs and tables stacked against walls. In the center lies a crude dais, a circle of boards arranged like a stage. On it stands a solitary metal chair, rusted and streaked. The 3-circle symbol is carved into the seat back. Before it is a Polaroid camera on a tripod, lens aimed back toward the steps. I step forward. The air is colder here, scent of damp earth and something acrid, like iron and gasoline. The floorboards moan under each footstep. I circle the dais, flashlight painting the graffitied walls. Help me. You did this. Never forget. The words repeat until the echo makes them swallow each other into nonsense. At that moment, a shutter snaps behind us. I spin, beam cutting to the staircase. The door above slides closed with a metallic clang. We're sealed in. Miles stumbles as I shove him toward the chair. "Sit," I order. He obeys, face stricken. I keep the light on the dais, on that Polaroid camera. As I lean in, I realize the lens is smeared, some dark substance caked around the glass. I bring my flashlight closer, heart banging. There, taped to the camera, is a fresh Polaroid. I see Miles sitting just where he is now, head slumped, eyes closed. Yet in the photo, his eyes are open, staring into the lens, unblinking. I recognize that look. The same hollow, accusatory gaze the ghosts wore in the field. I tear the photo down. My light sweeps the dais, catching something on the floor. A puddle of water staining the boards, darker at the center. I kneel, press a finger to the puddle. Blood congealed. Miles gasps. I stand, turning to him. His face is lifeless, eyes glassy. A single tear trails down his cheek. He mouths something. "I'm sorry," before his head lolls to the side. "No," I whisper, dropping to my knees. I shake him. "Miles, wake up!" He doesn't move. I slap his cheek, heart splitting. My radio crackles, static that snaps and hisses. As a voice whispers through, "He's part of the story now." Then the voice warbles into the lullaby's melody, cascading through the speakers above. I scramble to my feet and train the beam up the wall, searching for a speaker. The rusted bulb wobbles. I notice that the shadow it casts is too sharp, too angular, like something standing just beyond the light's fringe. I whirl around. There, leaning against the far wall in partial shadow, is the hooded figure, face obscured. The blade is gone. In its place, he holds an envelope. Brown paper, sealed with red wax. He steps forward, slow and deliberate, until he reaches the dais's edge. My throat constricts. "What do you want?" I shout. My words echo in the cavern. The figure lifts the envelope and tilts it toward me, as though offering a gift or a sentence. I hesitate, then approach. My boots scrape the wood. Every instinct is screaming to shoot, to flee, to wake up from this nightmare. But I need answers. I reach for the envelope. The hooded man doesn't move, only watches. I peel it open. Inside, pressed against the paper, is a Polaroid. Me, on the couch in my office, the lights off, head bowed, eyes closed, hand resting on the badge on my desk. But taped to the back are the words, "Next." Below that, in a spidery hand, the date, May 4th, 2025, tomorrow. I lift my head, vision blurring. "You can't be real," I whisper. "This isn't possible." The hooded figure steps back into shadow. The envelope slips from my fingers, fluttering to the dais's floor. A gust of wind surges up the stairs, rattling the door above. The speakers surge back to life, the lullaby warbling faster, higher. An indecipherable melody of laughter and crying. My legs shake. Miles lies motionless. The Polaroid on the dais shows him waking, eyes wide, staring at me. But I look at his body on the chair, unresponsive. The figure's presence feels like a weight pressing down, and every whispered promise of answers tastes like poison. I slide backward off the dais, knees hitting the floor. The hooded man's outline dissolves into the gloom of the corners. The bulb swings harder, then stops. Silence slams in, so complete it crushes my eardrums. I crawl to Miles, check his pulse. Slight flutter. He's alive, but barely. I cup his cheek. "I'm here, Miles," I say, voice cracking. "I'm not leaving you." He breathes, eyes fluttering open, confusion swimming there. He looks at me, mouth half-formed around words he can't speak. Then his gaze drifts to the envelope on the dais, to the date, tomorrow. I glance up, heart sinking. The hooded figure's whisper drifts through the speakers now, clear as day. "I'll see you then." And beneath it, in the hush, I hear a child's voice, Miles's voice, calling out, "Help me." The speakers die with a final click. I press my back to the cool wall, Miles in my arms, and stare at the dais, at the envelope that knows tomorrow's face. The Polaroids on the walls blur, as if the wood panels are bleeding memories. My gun feels heavy in my pocket, useless against what's next. The hush remains, suffocating. The latch on the stairs door rattles, then locks itself. We're sealed beneath the diner, with only questions and the promise of tomorrow's terror to keep us company. And I realize, with a dread that settles like lead in my chest, that the only escape I have is to walk back up those stairs and face whatever's waiting. Tomorrow. I haul myself upright, hauling Miles with me as the bulb's glow sputters and dies, plunging the basement into velvet darkness. His weight pulls at my shoulder. He leans on me like a wounded animal. I press my palm to his back, murmuring, "Stay with me. Stay alive." His eyelids flutter, and I feel the faint pulse beneath his collarbone. Slow, uneven, but there. The speakers crackle one last time, then fall silent, leaving only our ragged breathing. My flashlight sputters before dying, and panic seizes me. I pat my pockets until I find a single spare AAA cell from my utility pouch. I jam it into the beam, half the charge wasted, but enough to cast a narrow cone of yellow light. The basement stretches before us, deeper than I remembered, as if revealing a hidden pit. I lift the fallen envelope from the dais floor. The wax seal is cracked. The paper pressed against it feels damp. I slip it into my jacket and grip Miles under the armpits. Upstairs. Now. The stairs loom behind me, metal rungs that vanish into a black hole. When I touch the first tread, an echo rings through the cavern, and the latch above rattles. I position Miles on the first step and follow him, counting each rung by feel. We ascend 3 steps when a creak behind me snaps my head around. Something uncoils in the gloom at the base of the stairs. My heart stalls, but the beam reveals nothing, only warped shadows. I swallow and keep climbing. By the time we reach the halfway landing, both of us gasping, I feel the air temperature rise. The smell shifts from mildew to warm dust and stale coffee. I push Miles toward the stairwell door and catch a flicker of movement above us. Light seeping from the crack around the door frame, then gone. When I grasp the handle, the door won't budge, locked from the outside. I drop to my knees and pound the door with both fists. "Open this door!" I scream. The thundering of my fists echoes, answered by nothing but hollow echoes. Miles wraps his arms around my leg, voice muffled, "Sheriff, please." I rise, exhaling raggedly, and press my ear to the wood. A faint hum thrums through it. The same lullaby tune but warped, like a broken music box. I press my hand against the panel and feel a slow vibration, as if the walls themselves pulse with a heartbeat, not my own. Behind me, the dais Polaroid, taped to the wall where the help message was, drops to the floor, snapping me around. The image shows me and Miles ascending these very stairs. My boots on the rungs, Miles half supported by my arm, both faces drawn in fear. I don't remember someone taking that photo. Someone was here, trailing us, documenting every step. My jaw clenches. I pat my pockets, pulling out my phone to review the last photo. No signal, but the image still displays. My office shot, then Miles unconscious, Then now this. The envelope is taped over them, date side up, tomorrow's date glaring with intent. My blood runs cold. I shove the phone back, whip out the envelope, and tear it open. Inside is a single sheet of thin, yellowed paper. A page torn from an old ledger or journal. The handwriting is spidery and cramped. And now the keeper of stories must become the story himself. By midnight, his path will end where his tale began, on the cold boards of stage and trap. The words blur in my mind. Stage, trap, boards. The dais beneath the diner's floorboards. The basement must be a performance space. And this place, the Whitaker property, the abandoned farmhouse, the field, the diner, has all been stages. I glance at Miles. His breathing is shallow, lips moving in a silent prayer. I have no choice. I press my shoulder into the door and plant my boot against the frame. Rocking back, I brace and hit the door with my shoulder. It shudders, then swings inward with a deadbolt's screech. We burst through into the kitchen staff hall. Flickering fluorescents overhead reveal empty stainless steel counters, knives hanging in magnetic rows, long unused utensils. The corridor stretches toward the front of the diner. I herd Miles along, pistol leading, beam sweeping for threats. The hum of the ventilation drones in my ears. We round a corner and enter the main dining room. The booths are still, the red vinyl seats torn. The counter is polished, but behind it, the cash drawer sits open, empty except for a single white glove. I remember Miles's hoodie, my jacket, the logger's hat, the blade, the iron, props in someone's sick show. I grip Miles's hand, voice hoarse. We're getting out of here, no more games. He nods, stumbling but determined. We cross the floor toward the front door, but it's gone. In its place is a wall of wood, painted to match the diner's facade. Fake windows painted over, the neon open sign taped to the surface but unlit. I kick at the wall. It rattles like hollow paneling. God damn it, I shout. Miles flinches. I spin, scanning for another exit. The windows beside the booths are intact, but heavily barred on the outside. No way through. Even the vent ducts are sealed, painted over. Behind the booths, the jukebox hums to life, the needle dropping on a vinyl crackle. A distorted voice sings, "Stay a while, stay, stay." The melody folds into the same refrain. Help me, help me. I sprint to the shining machine, slash the speaker grill with my pistol. The music warbles and dies. Static fills the room, then clear. Your story ends here. I whirl toward the back hallway. The staff-only door stands shut again. I kick it open. In the light of the back kitchen, I see the stairwell descending back into the basement. The only way out is down. I glance at Miles's face, resolve hardening in his eyes. I steel myself. If this is the trap, we'll face it together. We dash down the stairs two at a time, hammers on the wood sounding like footsteps on a stage. The door above slams shut with a finality that shakes the rails. We plunge into the basement, familiarity hitting me like a punch. The dais sits empty now, the metal chair missing. The walls are slick with condensation, the painted symbols smeared. The Polaroid camera lies on its side, film advance still stuck mid-click. The hush here is different, thick with memory. I scan for Miles's fallen photo. It dangles from a nail at the wall, half buried in shadow. I press the AA cell into my light, and the beam finds a ledger on a small table, bound in leather, pages yellowed. I flip it open. The entries are dated decades ago, notes on missing persons, strange symbols drawn always in threes. The final entry, dated May 4th, 2025, reads simply, "He arrived." The story begins anew. My blood runs cold. This ledger is a record of victims, stories told here, trapped in the pages. And now my name will be written next. I slam the book shut and push it aside. Miles coughs. This place, it's alive. His voice trembles like wet leaves. I nod. It learns. It adapts to each story, each person. I hoist him upright. We need to exit, now. I touch the north wall searchlight style. There's a seam in the concrete. I press. It gives way. A hidden panel swinging open on rusted hinges. Behind is a crawl space, just wide enough for two. I drop my gun, reach back for Miles's hand. He squeezes it. We crawl through, shoulders scraping, bodies bending. The tunnel slopes upward, the air getting fresher with each inch. The beam ahead shows cracked daylight seeping. We push forward, spurred by hope. Then the passage ends in a vault door. It's steel, pitted dark, with a wheel-shaped handle. Above is carved, "The End." My pulse races. I grab the wheel and turn. It resists, then creaks open to spill us into sunlight. We tumble out onto a high bluff overlooking the abandoned Whitaker farmhouse, our starting point. The house below sits silent in the morning haze. A thin prankle of light strikes its windows. We stare at each other, sweat and grime choking us. I shove Miles behind a boulder, scanning the farmhouse with my beam. The front door hangs open. No sign of any other exit from this height. The slope to the road is steep, treacherous, but free. I help Miles stand. "Come on," I whisper. He nods, swaying. We begin the descent, every step a leap of faith on loose rock. The farmhouse looms closer, its yellow windows mocking. The first board on the porch creaks. I freeze. Behind me, Miles lets out a soft sob. A voice crackles on the wind. "Sheriff, help me." It's the radio voice. Miles's voice, the child's voice all at once. No speaker, just the wind carrying their plea. I spin, the bluff's edge is empty. The farmhouse porch stretches toward us, inviting. The boarded-up windows seem to breathe. I take a step back. Miles reaches for me, voice faltering. What do we do now? I swallow. The ledger, the Polaroids, the journal. Everything points back here, to this house, to this trap. I turn to face him, heart thundering, and realize there is only one story left to tell. And I am both the author and the victim. I squeeze his hand. We go in. The wind sighs behind us, carrying the faintest whisper. Have you written your final line?